the town that you're in, it is about 200 people. It's pretty small, but as I mentioned in Discord, it is on the main road. So we do know that there will be a road that goes from Tessera to Ornkaima that goes, for the most part, pretty much straight over there. It is well traveled. There are it's mostly like merchants and inns and taverns, because it is just sort of it's a stop along the way. There aren't a huge population of people that just live there as just a place to live, and the majority of the people that live there work there as well. There isn't a whole lot of just like residential areas where people farm or anything like that. So how you guys got here, I will leave up to you. We will say that just as the most generic thing we can possibly do, you will all be in an inn called the Spring Rain. It is one of the more quiet inns. It's a little bit off the main road of the town. And so there's not a whole lot of people in here. This inn, for the most part, is used by the people who work here or live and work in this general area. So after they get off work, they would come to this place. The ones closer to the road would be the ones that the travelers tend to go to. So it's not particularly busy. There are a couple of humans in there, some elves, and there are, from what you guys can see, there are a couple of halflings in there as well, but no more than about 12 people total in the inn at the moment. So I'll let you guys decide if you want to introduce yourselves and what you're doing, why you're there, because I don't know.
Who wants to go first? Because I technically am not there yet. I would be entering like as everyone's inside.
That's what I was wondering. How long does it take? Does it take for me to get there from Arendelle? Matt.
Well, from where it's about 325 miles from where you started.
A long time, just like Bjorn.
I mean,
possibly.
Probably a couple weeks for you to get there. Yeah, about 13, between 10 and 14 days, probably, depending on how hard you're pushing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I feel like Lena would have been, I guess, doing odd jobs around the town, or like has been doing odd jobs for a while since she's been traveling. And sorry for my bird, she decided to talk now. So I feel like she would be chatting with the tavern keeper. Probably she's met him or her a couple of times by now, and just recently got back from an odd job or something, and was just like, just chatting, having a quick drink, trying to figure out if there's anything else she can do.
I'm probably sitting at the bar. Been there for a while. In town, that is.
I mean, he definitely, subtlety is not one of his strong suits, so you guys would probably all hear a huge, well over 6 or just about 6.5 feet human enter, and he has old bruises, like they're already yellowing, but he also has like scars and a bunch of cuts on his body. There's like you could see blood seeping through a few spots, and he would just kind of look around as he walked in and go find an empty bar or like a stool in the corner and just sit down and start like looking over his arms and wounds.
Well, but with the cat drug in, you don't see that often.
Were you talking to him or were you talking to like a bartender?
I'm there at the bar. I'm pretty short, 5'4" human.
Okay. Yeah, I would have tried like, well, Matt, would there be anywhere in the bar that I could pretty much be like as far as I could be from the next closest person? Like I want to have as much space between me and anyone else as possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's some tables and chairs that would be closer to the door that people would not be sitting at.
Okay, I would just sit there and like you guys would see it just like I said, a lot of cuts, a lot of like old wounds and stuff, and he's coughing heavily and just he looks like he's been through hell, and he just sits down and kind of surveys the room to see who's inside and just continues like you see him pulling something on his arm, but it's like kind of covered up by furs and stuff.
And Lena, since you have been talking to the bartender and had a little bit of knowledge about what's going on, it would have mentioned to you, since you were looking for jobs, that there is a woman in the bar right now who was looking for people to assist her, and he sort of like points to this kind of rather meek looking human woman. She's wearing some dark green robes, it looks like. And she's got these interesting looking little spectacles on, and she's got this gigantic, heavy looking book she's going through. Doesn't really appear to be noticing anybody, just kind of oblivious and just reading through this book. And you can see her quickly turning the pages and taking notes. And then just you can see her finger going along as she's reading. But she does when Bjorn walks in, she sort of looks up and kind of makes a face like ugh, and then goes back to her book.
Yeah. So Lena would thank the bartender and then I guess grab a drink that the woman has been drinking for her and bring it over and say, "I've heard that you've been looking for someone to do a job."
She looks up and takes her glasses off, and she seems kind of friendly, and she smiles at you, and you can see that she seems kind of distracted. She keeps kind of looking around as she's talking, but she said that well, I've been looking for some people to help me out. I have some coworkers, or I guess you could call them friends. We've been looking into these ruins in the forest, and I'm afraid they may have found something they shouldn't. And I came back here to do some more research, and I haven't heard from any of them in a while, so I'm not really equipped to go and answer them myself. So I was hoping I could get a few people to come along with me.
I certainly wouldn't mind helping. And she holds out the drink that she had bought for her and just sets it on the table and is like, "I did buy this for you. I wouldn't mind a little bit of a chat."
Well, I appreciate it.
How far down the bar is she?
If you were trying to hear it, you could have heard it.
All right. Missing people?
She looks up and yeah, I am.
How old are they?
Well, not exactly sure. There's a number of
Kids
them.
or
no, they're not children.
If you're looking for someone to help find them, I can help.
Be great.
For a price.
Well, and she kind of stops and hesitates a little bit and says, "Well, I work for the Royal College in Tessera, and I do have some money that I could offer if."
Don't worry, we'll talk price later. And Edir, he looks he's about 5'9", tan, platinum. He's got a vertical scar going from just under his left eye down to his chin. And if you look, you can see he's got a scar, a horizontal scar.
Did he cut out just for me, or was that for everyone else?
Yeah,
That cut out for me too.
Oh, Kaylin, you there?
I will take as many people as I can get. As soon as possible.
At this time, you guys probably hear a loud cursing coming from wherever Bjorn is sitting, as he is like currently taking off like the furs that are on him, and he's shirtless under it, and all you guys can see gashes that it looks like he kind of just rubbed mud into, and some of them are pussy, some of them are clearly infected, and he's just sitting there like squeezing at him, trying to drain them and stuff like that by himself, and just cursing all the while like in extreme pain.
And
say we should get the big guy to join us, but not sure if he's up to it at this point.
As she says that, do I notice any of them like looking at me?
Yeah, everybody's looking at you now.
Okay. He kind of just like looks up at everyone and sorry, and kind of just like puts his head back down and starts pulling the furs and stuff back up.
No, it's no problem with me. I would say I'm not squeamish, although I can't really help much with that. But if you're feeling better, we are doing some kind of job in the forest.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Sorry. They did some work around the house. The city did, and I think they might have got too close to our line.
We heard about the scarring and stuff, and then you kind of just cut out.
Yeah. Diagonal scar from under the left eye down to the chin, across the mouth. Got a scar going around the front of my throat. About 5'9", platinum blonde, tan, really skinny but very well toned. And you see, I got a big old pointy stick, so to don't know if your character is familiar with pole arms or not. Leaned up against the counter next to me.
Well, when Lena says something about the forest, he kind of like looks back up and he goes, "Leaving the town. Yes, I would do this."
Well, that's good. I think we've got a good group then. And she kind of looks around and surveys everybody, and I'm smiling. She seems really optimistic.
And as you're saying that, he puts his hand up to his mouth and starts coughing, and you just see blood in his hand.
So the person that you're speaking to, she does introduce herself. Her name, I'll type it for you. It is Sandra Boussard. She is a scholar, a teacher at the college, the Royal College of Tesra, and goes on to explain that she's, I guess I don't know that they would use this term in this world, but essentially a bit of an archaeologist. And she was part of a team of people that were investigating these ancient elven ruins in the forest there. They believed that it was home to a ancient elven death cult. Great way to start the campaign, right? And she had come back to do a little bit of investigation, and they had also asked her to go back and arrange some supplies while they were excavating the site. She's supposed to go back and acquire some the basics, food and water and that type of thing. But she hasn't heard any word from anybody in much longer than she was expecting. So she had made mention that about a day and a half south of Ornkaima is an old hunting lodge. It's still in use, called the Moonglade Hunting Lodge. And the forest itself used to have a road that went through it. It's been overgrown for quite some time, but there is a road that goes. Basically, the hunting lodge that's there now is about as far in as the road goes anymore. Obviously, hunters go there to stay when they're out catching game, and that was where they were going to meet up. The excavation site is another maybe 2 days into the forest from the hunting lodge, which is part of the reason why that she is not okay with going on her own. The forest itself is known to be rather dangerous. It's got some rather eerie sort of reputation for strange things happening from time to time, in addition to just your regular sort of like bears and wolves and things like that. It's also known to be a bit of a haven for bandits and the like, just because it's a good place to hide. So she does also tell you that she is authorized to offer 400 gold to escort them, as long or to escort her to the location, to the excavation site, and that's basically what she gets to. And then she sort of asks if you guys have any questions for her, as far as like about the mission, or or are you guys ready to go, or well, not really. I mean, we found a sort of stone structure which we believe used to be a temple type place at one time, but I didn't get too far into it before they sent me back. They had started digging trenches, and they had just gone into the first room of the temple there, and it's about all I really know specifically about that. I'm not going to do this in character, but she also explains that the team of people that you're looking for. There are 2 elves, a human, a halfling, and a dwarf. The elves are sort of like the senior fellows that are the one of them is here. I'll give you all their names straight. So the elves are Varen and Salen. Varen is sort of like the one in charge of the team and the excavation. The human is named Timothy, because why not? And the halfling is named Deacon. And the human and the halfling, Timothy and Deacon, for the most part, are the hired help as far as like the digging of the trenches and stuff. They're not really part of the scholarly work. They're just sort of there to do all the manual labor so that the elves don't have to. The dwarf is named Seamus Stonehammer, and he is essentially the guard. He is a rather imposing figure for a dwarf. He's got a shaved head and a long braided beard. She sort of explains that that Sandra's absolutely terrified of Seamus. He like tries to keep her distance from him. There's a reason that he is the only guard that they needed. He's kind of a powerhouse that she's quite frightened of. But he's missing too, as far as she can tell. Well, I say missing, but all that she knows is that she went back to town. She was supposed to hear from them and hasn't. So missing may not be the appropriate term at this point. It's just she hasn't heard from them, so she wants to go and check on what it was. She gives you a little bit more detail as far as like what they were doing. They believe that this cult was centered around sort of death and rebirth, but they think that may have sort of gotten involved into sort of a bit of a necromancy type scenario. And being part of the Royal College, they can get away with researching these types of things and researching magic, so long as they don't participate in the use of the magic. She just sort of like nods and says, "Well, I've already put together the supplies that I need to take. If there's anything that you all need to get," and she sort of like gives an eye to Bjorn, kind of like, you obviously need some.
As soon as she says that, I get up and walk over to the bar. Do I see any like full bottles of liquor?
Yeah, I would think so.
I just look for whoever is the bartender, and I point to it and I say, "Is this enough?" And I put down two gold pieces.
And it just kind of smiles and says yes, and hands you whatever it is that you're pointing at.
Just any, I really don't care, cheap, expensive, whatever the hell it is, just a random one. I just want a bottle of alcohol.
All right.
I just grab it and I put it, and like as I'm walking back over, you see him just splashing it into his wounds.
I will ask him to fill up a flask of for the road for me.
And you ask Bjorn?
No, I'm asking.
Oh, okay. I was gonna...
for a flask. liquor to be filled up,
Yeah, you could
and a bottle to go as well.
say for about 5 silver, you could get both of those things.
All right.
And as he approaches, like he's like putting the cork back in the bottle, and he goes, "Are you ready now?"
No, I'm ready as well.
Real quick question: how is it extremely obvious? I think you said you were half drow. Is it like is your skin like extremely dark for an elf, or? Okay, so it like there's really no way to see your skin at the moment. No. I didn't know if I would notice it like just walking by you, if you just had a hood up and I would see your skin in your face. But if you're having it, no, like he's not paying it that much attention. Yeah. So once everyone's like starting to say they're ready, Bjorn just walks out. He just pushes the door open and walks outside.
Okay.
Do you even know where you're going?
Away from this place.
If I might suggest, based on where we're going, might everyone want to stop by the pharmacists for a little, just in case?
Well, I suppose a healing item might be useful.
Just a first aid box is basically all you need. Never know.
As you guys are saying, like you could see, I mean, anyone can see he looked extremely uncomfortable in this place, and you could like he's not moving as quick as like you would think he would. Like he looks very hurt, tired, something.
Would you like to meet us in the forest?
Like I'm assuming when I came here, I saw like the forest, right? Like I was walking along it or something.
Yep.
He'll just look and say, "I'll wait right outside of the village."
Oh, perfect. We'll just go get some first aid kits and bandages and whatnot, and we will be right there.
Yeah, I went ahead and removed the cost for the healer's kit, the first aid kit, flask, and liquor.
So that's another thing that we'll have to adjust.
You can make a chat for stuff that we pay for a room if you want. I've seen some games do that. Excuse me. Sorry.
What do you want me to call it?
The shop.
Yeah, that'll work.
There we go. So the way it works in 5e, so a healer's kit, which contains bandages, salves, and splints. It has 10 uses. But basically what it does for the way that it works in the game is that it basically stabilizes you. So like if you're dead, it keeps you from having to do death saving throws. That's all that it's designed to do. But because healing potions are not very common here, I will also let you guys do 1d4 plus 2 to heal. A healing potion is 2d4 plus 2. We'll allow you guys to use a healer's kit. It's still going to have the 10 limit, but you can do 1d4 plus 2 as a heal. And then and not saying you'll never get a healer's, a potion of healing or anything like that. It's just you're not going to be able to go to buy them at stores on the regular. So this will be something that can at least tide you over a little bit until one of you dies and the next one you re-roll a cleric, right? So
well, would that be like, would you add that on to like the healer feat if anyone ever went with that? Because I think the healer feat is the same thing, but it's 1d6 plus 4.
You say you're gonna have it heal how much?
1d4 plus. Yeah, I mean, if you have like that ability, then we would increase it.
1d4 plus
Okay.
2.
All right. We obviously not for my character I'm playing right now because he's not very smart. I wouldn't be going into a healing kit, but I was thinking that would be a cool way to make up for it.
Yeah.
All right.
But 1d4 is basically just like your ability to like use salves and splints to like keep yourself from bleeding out and things like that, so you can give yourself a little bit of healing so that you're not like completely useless.
Yeah, and you said d4 plus 2.
Yeah, it's 1d4 plus 2 instead of 2d4 plus 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lena would have grabbed 2, one for herself and one for Bjorn.
And I'll say that is one of those things where, like, for the most part, you could get these healers kits virtually anywhere, because there's not a whole lot to them. I mean, because bandages can just be some like torn cloth, so it's not. Like splints are sticks, and I mean, like the salves are really the only thing that you and actually, like, Bjorn, you may even be able to figure that out on your own as well. After having looked at it, you could be like, oh, I know what this is made of. Like, go out and as the wanderer and being able to go out and get food, you may know enough about the plant life and stuff because your survival skill is probably decent.
Yeah, it's a plus 2. I mean, my wisdom sucks, but I am proficient in it.
Yeah, so I mean, that would be one of those things where in a pinch, I could even allow you guys to like make essentially a healer's kit. Because the only other thing that's going to get iffy, and we'll figure out when we'll cross the bridge when we get there. But obviously, as you get higher levels, 1d4 is going to do nothing, right? So, but we'll figure that out later.
Invent a new healer's kit, like an advanced healer's kit, and double or something.
Right. So maybe
Always way to add
maybe
stuff.
go to Tessera. Maybe because there is a medical college there as well that is different from the Royal College that Sandra works at. So they may have things that they could teach someone who's somewhat smart. So, was there anything else that you guys wanted to get besides healer's kits? I mean, really, what you would be able to get here would be your basic supplies. So stuff that you should probably already have as part of like your pack. Unless there's any extras you wanted to buy.
And that's what I'm trying to make sure I keep track of is all. How much was the liquor I bought from you?
5 silver.
5 silver? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, while they all went off to do that, I would have just like walked right outside of the town and just set all my stuff down, dropped my maul, and took out one of my hand axes and just started puncturing the wounds and pouring the liquor into it. Because this is the first place that he has stopped in civilization. So he's not a complete moron. He knows that like alcohol will clean stuff out. So he's trying to disinfect his cuts.
And if you use the salves and stuff from the healer's kit, that would prevent infection, we'll say.
Okay.
I also added just a loot channel that you can, if you guys want to like put like group loot. Obviously, a bag of holding is also going to be difficult to come by in this world because that's a magical item. So again, most of the things you're gonna have to find or most of those types of things you're gonna have to find. You're not going to be able to buy. So. There you go. And also, just as a for future reference, the potion of healing, the basic one, is just going to be like they're relatively small. So if you think of like just like the thin test tube with like a cork on the top, that's essentially the size of one of the basic. So you would be able to carry a few of those if you had them. They're not like a big bottle or anything. You could basically take it as a shot. So, if you guys have everything that you need, it's about 2 days maybe a day and a half, depending, walk to the Moonglade Hunting Lodge. So it's probably the first half of the day, because this was we'll say that this was morning when you guys set out, and it takes about a half a day to get to the forest from Ornkaima, and you notice as soon as you enter the forest, and probably within the first 100 or so feet, it's a very, very thick canopy, so it gets dark pretty quickly as you walk into the forest. A few things that you notice is that the ground itself is not like, it's not. I think your stereotypical forest is, you think of like flat ground with a bunch of trees. The thing that you notice is that the ground is very hilly, and it appears to be, you'll see large enough hills that you kind of lose sight of the top of them, because of the tree cover that you have. So you'll see all these trees, and then there'll just be a big hill with obviously some trees on the side, but you don't know how high these things go. So it's not just a generic straight, flat forest. It's quite hilly. You can see that the road that you're traveling on is overgrown by comparison to the road that you were on to get, from, or the main road of Ornkaima anyway. You can see that there is some travel, but it appears that this is mostly foot travel on this particular trail, so it's not particularly wide. The other thing that you notice is that it's this kind of strange combination of, it's quite chilly, but it's also extremely humid. There's a very strange sort of scenarios that obviously usually humidity is accompanied by a lot of heat. But you can feel the air is quite thick, and it's difficult to breathe. And the other thing that you notice as you're walking through is that there does appear to be a fair amount of moisture, and as you progress further and further in, you notice that the trail is extremely muddy, and it's getting to the point where it's actually starting to get difficult to walk, and every 5 or 10 steps, like, your foot will get kind of stuck, and you get that sucking mud sound as you have to kind of pull your foot out. And you go on like this for the rest of the evening. Nothing like particularly interesting. You don't really see much. It's just trees. You hear the birds and that type of thing. And just for the sake of expediency, I'm not going to make you guys roll anything for where you're staying. But you do set up a small little camp. You rest. Nothing exciting happens. And you continue on your journey the next day. As you progress further into the forest, it does get even colder, to the point where, as you're heading out in the morning, you can actually start to see your breath in the air, and it's starting to get uncomfortable, and it's starting to like get annoying now. The mud and the cold, and you go on for most of the next day, to the point where you're really getting like, it sucks now. You're cold, you're muddy, you're wet. So it's quite an exciting thing to hear Sandra stop and say that the hunting lodge is actually just right up over what she believes to be right around the next bend, essentially. And she says that there's a clearing, not like a huge clearing, but there is a setup where the hunting lodge is on a small little hill, and the trees have been cleared around it. And she's starting to recognize, she's been to the lodge, so this stuff's starting to look familiar, to the point where she's like, okay, well, we're almost there. So you're all quite excited about the idea of like, okay, well, once we get to this lodge, we warm up, get a change of clothes out of our packs and get dry. So
how bad is it for me coming from the south with mountains?
I mean, you're probably the most comfortable.
Okay.
And actually, Adir, you're not particularly bothered by it really either. I mean, you lived in a mountainous area. It wasn't quite as cold, but the wet and the rain and stuff. It's not anything that you're like unfamiliar with. But yeah, I mean, Bjorn, you don't even really notice the cold as much. Everybody else is like, okay, this kind of sucks.
Yeah, I imagine Lena's just like teeth chattering, huddling with her arms.
So, you kind of have a surge of like, oh, all right, that we're almost there. So you kind of get your spirits back up a little bit, and as you sort of the trail winds a little bit, and then you do see where the opening that Sandra was talking about, and up on the hill you can see what appears to be it almost looks like this at one point served as maybe like a small like fortified outpost or something, because the building itself is 3 stories. The first floor appears to be made out of pretty sturdy looking stone, and it has like slit windows that that most of you would recognize would be like arrow slits essentially. And then the next 2 floors are made of wood. But what you notice as you get a little bit closer is that there is a large. The door is relatively wide. It almost looks like you could fit 2 people through the front door. Very thick, sort of like sturdy oak door, and it's thrown open, and the top hinge looks to be like it's been broken off. And you can see there appears to be a dead horse laying in the road leading up to the door. And you can see that there appears to be, as you're getting closer, it appears there was a fire of some kind. The second and third floor don't appear to be too badly damaged. The wood that it's made out of is quite dark, so from a distance you didn't really notice any sort of like charred marks. But as you get closer, you do notice that there are a bit of the wood is blackened, and you can see that there's some smoldering smoke and stuff. Looks like the fire may have been somewhat recent. It's hard to tell though. You can also see as you get a little bit closer, because the horse is probably, we'll say, like 50 to 75 feet in front of the from the lodge itself, sort of like on the slope of the hill. And you can see what appear to be like wood, maybe bones, also like further up the hill, that also appear to be smoldering a bit. And
You said bones?
Yes.
Does it look like? Oh, probably too far away to tell if it's like horse or if it's human size, but
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, it looked like it from where you are. It looks like it could possibly be wood, but you notice that it's a bit smaller than like what you would assume like a wood, like a log would be, as far as like if you were trying to burn for a fire. And upon seeing this, as you all sort of get around there, like Sandra starts to like freak out, and she kind of gets like scared, and you can see that she starts to hide behind the bushes because she doesn't know what's going on. So,
and where you said we're approaching, what would be like the first thing we would come to? Would we come to the horse first,
Yes.
or the tower first?
Yeah, it would be the horse is about right now. The horse is probably about 20 feet in front of you, and the horse is probably about 50 feet or so in front of the lodge.
And then the burning pile was up a hill to the other side.
Yeah, it's more to the it's up the hill. It's in between essentially the horse and the
Okay.
lodge itself, a little bit off to the east. Yeah, do a survival check. You do notice some footprints in the mud. Difficult to say exactly how long it's been, but you do see foot travel and horse travel.
As he like starts looking around for that, I'm gonna kind of just slowly approach the horse and like try to get however close I have to see if like is there an arrow sticking out of it? Does it look like it was clawed to death or bitten by something? I just want to see if I can tell what caused this horse to die here.
Well, that's probably a wisdom check, or like it's technically would be like a medicine check, but if you could probably do survival.
Okay. 10.
I would say that you can see it looks like there are bite marks and there are claw marks. It appears that there have been like chunks of it that have been like eaten, I guess. But with a 10, you're not entirely sure like what the cause would be.
Okay. And is it like rotting or is it fresher?
It's fresher.
Okay. He'll kind of turn around and look at everyone and say, "It was a beast that did this."
Mm.
And then he's going to take out his hand axe and cut a piece of meat off it and start eating it.
Don't you want to cook that first? Maybe
Pays no attention.
Could get worms.
I'll reapproach the group and kind of look around at everyone. Like, is she obvious where she's hiding, or does she actually hide pretty well where I don't know where she is?
Oh no, she's terrible. So you
Okay.
can see she is.
I'll just look at her and say, "Where now? Where do we go?"
And she doesn't say anything, but she just sort of like does a motion of like I don't know, but also she kind of points just to like the lodge and like I guess like.
I suppose we should get closer and investigate that. Sandra, I don't think you should stay alone though.
She kind of walks up behind you.
Start walking up towards the lodge building.
Yeah, Lena would as well, keeping Sandra close to her.
As everyone's like walking by, Bjorn's just offering meat.
Oh, no, thank you.
Nah.
Kind of just shrugs and takes another bite, and he follows in at the back, like he lets everyone go in front of him and stays behind everyone.
So we get up to the building. Does it look in one piece? Is it ramshackle? Is it well kept?
Do a perception check for. I guess everybody do a perception check as you get closer.
Yay.
Thank God for Bjorn.
So well, Adira and Bjorn, you both, because Bjorn's more impressive because you were in the back, but you start to hear the sound of like low voices speaking. If you understand Elvish, you understand it to be Elvish. If you don't, you understand it to be gibberish. But you hear voices, sort of low speaking voices coming from the inside.
I don't know who it is in front of me, whether it's Lena or Sandra. I just grab them on the shoulder.
I look back towards everyone and put my finger to my mouth, measure like I'm saying quiet. And I want to put my ear to the door and see if I can hear what's going on.
Well, the door's open.
It's wide open?
Yes. It's actually hanging from the hinge.
Oh, hanging from the hinge. Okay.
I'll say that you guys were walking up to the side of it, so like people couldn't have just seen you walking up, just for the sake of it.
He rolled a 12. He's pretty close, and I rolled. Do either of us hear like understand words, or is it kind of just we could hear the language?
It's muffled sound, so you may pick up a word here or there, but you don't like it's not loud enough for you to actually like understand what they're saying.
Lena would pull out her shield and rapier at this point.
based off of the muffled sound coming in there, is it frantic? Is it argumentative? Is it?
It sounds sort of like just relaxed conversation.
Uh,
No yelling or nothing.
Well-
Seems frantic.
Keeping my hand on the shoulder, like I said, I don't know who I was right behind, but I just kind of hold them still and I start walking forward. And I kind of just, when I get up to the front where Adira is, I kind of look at him and kind of look back at the door and just like, do we continue?
we can
And just
both.
you guys could probably like, because they are essentially like window slats. They're big enough that you could probably look through. But they're not like full windows with glass.
Oh, there. Okay, so there are some on the ground level.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I'll try and sneak a peek in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let him go first, but like if it looks like he's having trouble, like if he's not tall enough or anything, I would approach too. But if he's good, I'm staying back.
All right. For the heck of it, do a stealth check. Just okay. So I'll keep your previous sort of perception. So looking in, it takes a second for your eyes to kind of adjust, even though I don't think you have dark vision, but
Nah, human.
Yep. I think everybody. Well, actually,
we have one that could see a lot.
One that can see a lot. The rest of you can't. All right, so it does take a minute for your eyes to kind of adjust to like looking into this. It's not that necessarily that the room is particularly dark. It's just that obviously the transition from being outside to inside is a bit difficult to see initially. But what you see as your eyes adjust is it's like looking into like a nightmare. You can see there's maybe about a dozen bodies on the ground that appear to have like deep slashes, and they're sort of like scattered all over the floor. They're laying over like overturned tables. You can see that there's like like drinks and blood appear to be like just spattered all over the place. And similarly to the horse that you saw, it appears that look like they're gigantic. Well, I don't want to say gigantic. There appear to be like bite marks, and it looks like these bodies have been partially eaten. And the other thing that you notice is that it appears to be about 7-ish. It's difficult to tell exactly how many people there are from the angle that you're looking at. But it looks like there may be half a dozen people rummaging through pockets of the people that are down. And the main thing that the thing that strikes you as because it's mostly it's in the center of the room. You see what appears to be a relatively tall, even from behind. You can see him from behind, and you can see he appears to be an elf because you can see his ears from the back. It's got this straight black hair that is sort of like pulled into a loose ponytail. And what strikes you about him is that he appears to be wearing a leather jerkin, but it doesn't have any sleeves. And you can see that he's surprisingly extremely muscular for an elf, as they tend to be a bit more lithe. Guy has pretty bulky arms, and he has these tattoos start up on his shoulder, and they appear to be a combination of tree branches and like vines that just wrap around his arms and then go onto his hands and then even down onto his fingers. And he has that on both hands. And the reason that you're noticing is his arms and his hands is that he's got a crowbar, and there's this what appears to be some sort of lockbox that he's got sitting up on a table that he's trying to break into. That is not currently he doesn't appear to be having very good luck, and you can kind of like hear him mumbling and cursing under his breath.
All right. I'm going to turn and look to the party, kind of hunch down away from and slowly back away from the window. go back to the party and let them know what I see. Looks to be several bodies on the floor, eaten, bitten on, slashed on. Not a pretty sight. There, and it looks like maybe 5 to 7 people in there. Looks like one of them looks definitely elvish. He's fooling around with a lockbox. I don't know about the rest of you. I can't see that great in the dark, so probably be wise to try and lure them out here, maybe.
Bjorn is kind of looking around. He looks at the woman who hired us and just points to her, like points away to a bush or something, and says, "Back to hiding for you."
And she just nods and kind of looks at Lena like,
I don't know. Maybe we can some of us hide to either side of the door, and Big Guy and I can just stand just outside here and kind of make some noise, draw them out.
This is a good idea. I can destroy their face if they walk out.
Yeah, I thought you might like that.
He kind of looks around at everyone like, and he's just kind of trying to take in, what does everyone look like they're ready to do? I know Lena said she has a sword and shield. Like, what's everyone else have in their hands like to fight with?
I've got a glaive that I've been using as a walking stick while traveling.
And does our elven friend have anything, or is he like carrying a dagger, a staff, or something? Oh, okay. All right. Bjorn's gonna look and say, "I will go towards the door. I can make sure they do not get to any of you if they come."
Don't worry about me. I can take care of myself. Don't let this short stature fool you. It's best the Big Guy and I draw him out.
If he is far enough away, he can make noise. So that way they are not expecting us right outside door.
Don't know how you're gonna do that without making them realize you're hiding outside door, but...
And real quick, Lena, what's your weapon again? Is it like a short
sword?
Oh, so it's like a really skinny... Okay.
Yep.
All right. I mean, Bjorn, he probably has never seen a weapon like that, so he pulls out like a hand axe and just offers it to you, and he goes, "Perhaps better?"
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm good with this one.
Kind of shrugs his shoulders and goes, "Okay."
Don't worry, she poked many good holes.
And he will, I guess, just look at everyone and say, "I will get up to the door, and when you make noise, I will be ready to swing." And he takes off from over his shoulder a very, very big, it literally just looks like a metal like handle with a huge ball at the end of it.
And whenever you're ready, we can proceed.
Lena's about 20 feet from the door, I guess. On the other side of the where Sandra is.
I'm going to try to stealth up to the side of the door best I can. Like, on one side while he's on the other.
Okay.
I'm just standing about 20 feet from the door.
No, I'm going right up to the door.
I'm just waiting for them to come out. I'm expecting you to stand out here with
God.
me.
No,
to draw them out, not to the door.
Oh no, he like his entire plan was they walk out and he is going to take at least one of their heads off as soon as they leave the door.
Yeah, very confrontational.
Yeah. So yeah, I am not very quiet.
I guess I'll stand. I'm about 5 feet behind you.
So as you are walking up there, because it's not like a particularly like steep hill, but it's steep enough that when you were trying to be sneaky, you slipped in the mud and just made enough noise, whether it was from cursing or just hitting the ground, that your attempt didn't work. Between the sound of that plus the whip, you just hear somebody call out, "Who's out there?"
Face palm.
And you hear some shuffling, and you see one person sort of like, they don't appear at the door, but you can see a person sort of run to the door, and they appear to have a rifle in their hand, which some of you would recognize. Bjorn, you may not recognize a rifle.
Nope.
But he leans up against the door jamb on the inside, so you see him like run up to the door, but he doesn't actually like stand in the door. And Jerry, you recognize at the very least this is not the same. This isn't the guy with the tattoos. This is somebody else. And they ask, or basically yell out there that like, we didn't know the previous occupants. We have no quarrel with any of you or these people either.
Bjorn's gonna kind of just. We are looking for 2 elves and their helpers.
Did any of the bodies kind of fit the description? Cinematic Guinness?
Couldn't really tell. There didn't appear to, from what you saw, you didn't see anybody that appeared to be like a halfling or a dwarf.
All right.
All we really want to know is what happened here, and if you know anything about what's happened to the 2 elves, human, halfling, and dwarf, I believe. That's who we're looking for.
And at this point, you can see the rather large elven man appears, not directly. He doesn't walk out, and he's not directly in front of the door, but you can kind of see his outline at the door. He's probably Bjorn, you said you're like 6'5"?
Like 6'7" ish.
Okay. So this guy's probably about 6'5", so maybe a little bit shorter, but pretty close to the same height. And again, you guys can see his fairly thick arms and the tattoos and everything, and he steps up and says, "We just came upon the scene ourselves. Last evening, we saw a fire over here and thought we'd come check it out."
I like to incite him.
Okay. I mean, best you could tell, he seems to be truthful. He introduces himself. My name is Maravash. This is my crew. They call us Maravash's Marauders. To which you guys, the ones that are close enough, you can hear somebody on the inside sort of like groan a little bit, and you hear somebody like, not, it's one of those things where you like people like say something under their breath, but they say it loud enough so that everybody hears it, and you hear somebody kind of say, "Nobody calls us that."
Doesn't sound like you're too well known, or your companions are very well happy with the name.
He just sort of like shrugs his shoulders, like,
Do you mind if one of us just comes in quick, takes a look around, see if we can find anything about these previous tenants?
once we've gone through our little process, you guys are free to do whatever you like.
It's if you don't mind, you can keep whatever it is here after in the box. Yes, I saw, but we just want to. While the scene's fresh, we are looking for some people.
And he just kind of steps to the side of the door and then does the little gesture of like, "Come on in."
Yep,
Bjorn starts
Lena
walking.
would. Yeah, Lena goes in, puts her rapier away, but keeps her shield out.
Bjorn does not put it. He's not holding his weapon at the ready, but he's walking with it in his hand.
And-
I'm staying on guard.
Okay. And as you walk in, you can see that like nobody is like, doing anything like to like forcibly like try and, provoke you or anything. But you notice as you walk in that everybody there and Adira was right. There are about, including Maravesh, there are a total of about 7 people. They do all appear to be elves. And as you walk in, they're either holding a crossbow or a firearm of some kind, and they're not necessarily pointing it at you guys, but they have them at the ready.
Yeah, Lena's just gonna look around.
Yeah,
Bjorn has zero interest in looking for anything like that. He's just keeping an eye on these people.
Okay.
I'm just gonna.
Yeah, you guys can do an investigation check if you want to like specifically look for people.
Does the big guy, the one that was messing with the box, he come in or does he stay outside?
Oh, he was still inside when he was talking to you, so he just kind of steps to the side and lets you guys in.
All right. Does he go further in or literally just to the side of the door?
He's pretty much still standing by the door with the guy with the rifle, who's just standing there with his arms crossed.
As Lena's like kind of doing her thing, looking around, Bjorn's going to look at one of the guys with a rifle and say, "What is this? I have not seen before."
And he just kind of like looks at everybody else like,
Apparently, he's not from the cities. His idea of basic first aid is pour liquor on it, spit on it, rub some dirt in it.
he just kind of chuckles a little bit and just looks at you, Bjorn, is like, "It's a gun."
You don't see very many outside the cities.
Were you going to bring Sandra in as well, because she's obviously the only person that would specifically know who you guys were looking for?
I think, my opinion, outside of a character, she should stay hidden out there in case shit hits the fan.
I mean, Bjorn's whole point of coming in was just kind of like to play bodyguard type thing to whoever came in with him, and assuming Lena was just going to be looking for if the corpses had the matching races and stuff.
And there are humans and elves, but there do not appear to be
Dwarf or no?
halfling. There are actually here, I made notes here. Okay, so there are about 12 bodies in the room. There are 7 that appear to be elves, and some of this stuff's a little bit, you're doing some guesswork because some of these bodies are pretty torn up. But best you can tell, there are about 7 elves, 3 humans, and 2 dwarves. The dwarves are both female, however, and you know that the dwarf that you were looking for is not.
Yeah, she would also be looking for anything that mentions their names or like papers that would mention the archaeology dig that they were doing or whatever. Anything that would point them to like where they were, what may have happened to them.
You do not see any. Maravash actually speaks up though and says, "Were you looking for those folk that shouldn't have been out here in the first place?"
Don't know what they were up to. All I know is we were hired to find them.
They were doing some kind of archaeology investigation.
And he tells you he's seen some, scholarly-looking folks going up in the hills from time to time, but they had determined that they didn't look like they had a whole lot of money, so they didn't really care. It wasn't going to like steal from them because it's like they didn't have anything. And also, Miravesh makes mention of the fact that they had a dwarf with them that he didn't really feel like was worth tangling with, so they chose just to leave them alone.
That
When he
sounds
says
like the group we're working for.
when he says that he was scared of a dwarf, Bjorn just like laughs. Not laughs like out like that, but kind of just like chuckles to himself.
Right.
Do you know whenabouts you saw them? Because I believe that is the group we're looking for.
Not recently.
And the whereabouts, just around the forest?
They were. He tells you that they had been up probably about a half a day to the south. There's a hill. There's a number of hills, and they didn't get close enough to see what they were looking at, but they had seen them milling about.
And just while we're in there, real quick, can I like kneel down near one of the corpses? And I only am interested in if it's like I just want to see if these wounds are like bear sized because I know bears well enough. I just want to know if it's like looks like these wounds came from bears.
Yeah, do another survival check.
Right. Nope.
You see the same. It looks like the same thing.
Okay.
But you do notice one thing that is particularly obvious, and most people would be able to decipher this, is that one body that appears to be like this was maybe like a guard, because again, this was a hunting lodge, but given that this is not a particularly safe place to be, there did appear that there had been some guards there. There was a one of the humans was a female, and she appeared to be wearing armor, and the rest of the people didn't. She appeared to have basically had her head caved in with something heavy, whereas everybody else was like cut up and looks like they were eaten and ripped apart. She wasn't. She basically just like she had her head bashed in with something.
So, is it safe? Like, is it safe to assume it looks like most of them are savaged by beasts, and then that one kind of looks more humanoid killed, like blunt force kind of stuff?
Right.
Okay.
But all of the people appear to have been dead for, at least 24 hours. You, looking around the room, you are pretty confident that Miravesh and his group did not kill these people, because they're also not covered in blood. Whereas you on this scene, and the fact that like this place is just an absolute nightmare disaster of blood and just everything all over the place, and the bandits are not covered in blood at all, other than their hands as they were digging around for money and stuff. One thing that you do notice as you sort of like, because you can see like there's a window in the back, and you can see where most of where the smoke and stuff had been from, is it appears that there was a stable back behind that appears to have been burned down.
Bjorn will get up and just walk back to the Miravesh guy and look at me and goes, are you from this area?
We are.
What beast in this forest would do this? And he points to the bodies.
He kind of like, you can see that he gets a little quiet for a second, and it's like, there are no beasts that would do this. Whatever it is, I don't want to meet it.
Bjorn just looks extremely confused, and like he's looking at the wounds, and like to him it makes no sense, but he's not going to push it.
Yes, it might be time to head down south and see if we can pick up the trail there.
I will say too, more so on the humans that you see in here versus the horse. The bite marks, there's gashes that look like claw marks that look like they came from a rather large claws. However, the bite mark look quite small, so it wouldn't, like, I would say, Bjorn, even though you didn't roll great, I would say that you would recognize that at the very least it's not like a bear and probably not like a wolf either. It just because the bite marks appear to be smaller.
I did roll pretty shit, but can I tell how, like, is it jagged, like, scratches? Like, does it look like it was jagged claws, or does it look like it was, like, smooth, like, clean cuts?
I would say both the claw marks and the teeth marks appear to have been done by something rather sharp.
Okay.
Gobbies.
If anybody is proficient in nature, go ahead and roll.
Me.
Nope.
Nobody.
Definitely not me.
All right. Well, how about if anybody is in because survival and nature are always hard to differentiate. If anybody else besides Bjorn is proficient in survival, you can roll it.
Nope.
Right.
I have a +3 in survival, but that's about it. I'm not proficient.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Okay. So anybody else, go ahead if you want to continue looking around the room. Do an investigation check, separate one from previous one for Lena.
Oh, damn.
All right. So, Soren, since you were not in there initially, you'd like, if you want to go in and then start looking around. So you notice a couple of things that the others didn't. First and foremost, you do notice the same thing that Bjorn did, in that you can tell that the person that appears to be, just assuming that it's a guard, you're not 100% sure how that would really work here, but that person was definitely not killed by the same thing that killed everybody else, that her head has been caved in with something. But the thing that you notice is that there also appear to be pools of blood in spots where there are no bodies, suggesting that maybe some bodies were moved or removed.
What, are you thinking possibly whoever took him took a snack with them?
It's possible. You mean like undead?
I just take my flask out and take a swig.
As he's pointing out, like, the extra blood pools, like, do we notice any drag marks or, like, any drips of blood going in a certain direction?
Do another survival check.
Oh my god, I am never going to roll a good one of these. Nope.
Everybody can like look for this one though. I mean, you don't have to be proficient to look for this. Wow.
We don't have a very wise party.
That is
Holy shit. I think we need to go get Sandra because she might be better than all of us at this.
okay.
No, get the dog.
That's true. Dog
Have
can
the dog
sniff
hunt them, sniff them out.
That's really more of their survival nature rather than investigation, because you have to like know about a thing versus just like looking at it. So, wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. I
Just
mean,
need to
even
add
if
up
I
all
had
the
just
numbers together.
even if I had just assisted someone, we would have still sucked.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, nobody rolled higher than an 8, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't see anything specifically. I mean, like from previously, like when you first got there, you do see Storn had seen some footprints. But you don't like see a like trail of blood or anything. And Maravash had told you like the general direction of where he had seen the people before, and Sandra's been to the excavation site as well. So
Bjorn's gonna kind of look around at everyone and just say, "So do we continue looking for them in the south?"
Yep, that seems like our best option at this point.
Is that the direction we were going to begin with?
And I will look at the Mirabesh guy and go, "What direction do you go from here?"
he just kind of smiles, like whichever direction you're not going.
This is good.
Yeah, but that won't stop you from following us to take up an opportunity if we were to meet same set unfortunate circumstances.
Kind of
I'm
chuckles,
just
like,
guessing.
we'll keep an eye out for your dead bodies, but we're not going to follow you right now.
Probably the smartest choice you can make. And he'll just like kind of grin at him and just stand there waiting for everyone else to walk out, and then he'll follow.
Yep, Belina will just be like, thank you very much for letting us in to investigate, and she'll wave and head out.
He just kind of does a little 2-fingered salute over his eyebrow.
I'll follow him out, and like as we get maybe like 25, 30 feet away, like when we're out of earshot of them, Bjorn will just go, "Not very honorable to steal from dead."
You got to make a living, however. And as I'm leaving, I'll kind of mimic the salute back at him and give him a wink as I walk off.
All right, and you can see that like Sandra at this point is kind of not doing great, sort of shaking a little bit, and it's hard to tell if she's shaking because she's like afraid or shaking because she's cold, maybe a little bit of both. But she does sort of guide you guys along the trail, and you can see that it's the trail itself is getting even like harder to follow now. There's twigs and brush over everything, and it snakes its way through the trees, and you can hear like the wind starting to blow, and it takes probably about an hour for you to get up to the hill, and then you can see that there is another sort of break in the trees, and there is a bit of a clearing there, and you can see that there are some shallow trenches that are like appear to be quite carefully cut into the earth, so you know that this is not a natural phenomenon. And then you could see in the center of these trenches there is kind of a low building that's made out of stone, been sort of smoothed over like, God knows centuries of like, erosion, wind and rain and everything. So like the stone itself is all completely like rounded off. And you can see that there are some steps that are going up to this like arched doorway. And there's this sort of circular symbol that's carved up into the archway itself. And just as an explanation, the building itself, it's not like a complete ruin. Like there is still like a roof on top of it. It's just that it almost looks like the building itself is kind of melted over time. But it appears that the stonework itself was strong enough and thick enough that it didn't like collapse or anything. It's just sort of worn down over the years. And as you get closer, you can see that there doesn't appear to be a door at all for this archway. So it's not like the door's open. The door is open, but it doesn't look like there was like a door there. But you can see that Sandra sort of like this mixture of kind of worry and confusion sort of like flashes across her face and sort of says that they always keep lamps in the main chamber lit. So if it's dark, something might have happened to them. And she actually starts to run towards to the room.
Can I attempt to grab her to stop her from running?
Yep.
What would it be?
I guess probably just a straight strength check, because that's kind of like what you use for grapple. So
I'm awful.
you're not a very good You're not a very good barbarian. You roll lots of sixes. However, she's not particularly strong. So really, even like I would have given it to you with a 5, because she's small. I mean, she's probably about 5 foot tall. Maybe weighs like 115 pounds, maybe. So even with that, like she's not going anywhere. So you could just grab her shoulder as she starts to run.
It maybe not the smartest for you to go in first if something bad happened. No.
She just doesn't say anything, but you can tell her eyes just don't leave the site there, and you can see that the trenches themselves, like, because the trenches like surround the building a little bit, and they're probably about it varies the distance where, because the trenches weren't fully completed, so it varies in depth from about 5 feet deep in some areas to about a foot deep. So like the part in the trenches in the front of the what we'll call it a temple are the deepest parts, and then as it sort of goes around the sides, you can see that it wasn't completed, and it starts to get shallower as it goes up.
I'll look at her again and I say, "You stay behind me, and you can tell me which way to go. Yes."
We have to go in.
Best not to rush these things.
But I just mean you do not run ahead of everyone. It is not very safe.
A nod. You guys can do a perception or survival check, whichever you feel more confident in.
Just him or everyone? You say just him or everyone?
Everybody.
Oh my god.
That was supposed to be normal. So that would actually be a 5. No,
I could see in the dark.
7.
Soren, you do see from here, you do notice splashes of blood and tracks. So like you see the tracks that are going up to like to the entrance and the stairs, and you can see that it also appears that something was dragged. And you can see that as well. So as you're looking at the outside of this building, you can see that there are what appear to be pretty simple windows that are cut into the stone on each side of the door, on both sides. They are about the building itself. You have to realize, like, so it's the steps go up. So the windows on the sides are about 8 feet off the ground, because you have to like walk up to get to the door, and so the windows from the ground level are about 8 feet up. You couldn't just like walk up and look in them. It looks like those are like just the straight walk through the door, and those windows, from what you can tell, appear to be about the only way that you could see to get into the building if you wanted to.
And you said the blood was going up the path of like the main door, right?
Correct. The other thing I'll say with a 17 is that you also notice the symbol above the door on the archway, at least, and it appears to be a skull with a missing jaw. So it's just like a skull without the jawbone, basically. For fun, if anybody is proficient in religion, you can roll for it, or you can ask Sandra. Well, we believe, though it's hard to say for sure because nobody that I know worships this deity, but we believe it was the symbol of Cyric, also known as Nassar, which she goes on to explain, if you so that you guys don't have to go into look into the lore chat. The god of murder, lies, intrigue, strife, deception, and illusion. Also, I'll give you a little more detail in that Kalimvor was the most recent Lord of the Dead. Essentially, like for an equivalent, Kalimvor would be similar to like the Raven Queen. So it was the idea of like ushering in the dead, and Kalimvor, similarly to the Raven Queen, despises the undead. However, Cyric was the god of the dead before Kalimvor. Kalimvor basically just took that portfolio from him. But Cyric was much more sinister and did not care about ushering people over. He would have been happy just to send everybody to essentially like send them to one of the hells and be done with it. Whereas Kalimvor, a little bit more on the, at the very least, it would have been more of a neutral god, whereas Cyric was much more of an evil god. And she believes that, or they believe that this symbol is that of Cyric or Nassar, whichever. But he was called both.
Lena just pulls out her rapier again.
How tall is Lena?
5'8".
An inch shorter than me.
All right. Bjorn is going to look at you and say, "You say you see in the dark?
Yes, I can.
I can bring you up to a window if you want to look in."
Actually, taller than me.
Oh, that might be good. I admit I'm not that good at picking out details, but I can try.
Better than just walking in blind.
Yep, Lena will get on Bjorn's shoulders and see if she can look in the window.
Yeah, he'll just go over and like kind of crouch down in front of it so she could like walk up his back.
Okay. So you do get a bit of a view, obviously in black and white. What you see is that inside the temple there, building, I'm keep calling it temple or chapel. It doesn't really, not really sure exactly. But it appears to be a fairly long room. You're actually having a hard time seeing all the way to the back. But you can see what appears. So, okay. So are you on, did you go up to the right window or the left window?
I would have followed her which direction she went.
She would have done left first.
Okay. So from the left side, you do see within the room, you can see that there appear to be columns that are, for the most part, like if you were walking in the door, right, and you walk straight ahead, you would be flanked by columns. So there are columns on the left and the right, and they basically go down the center of the room, which follows the opening of the door. So you can see those. You can see what appears to be rooms, one to the left, and you do see off to the right in the distance. You see, it looks like there is another room. The right room entrance appears to be further away from the front door, whereas the room on the left appears to be a bit closer to you, the entrance. In addition to that, you do see that there appears to be bits of furniture, but are kind of strewn around. It looks like there's something in the back, but it's a little bit too dark to really be able to see exactly what it is. You can see some shapes, what it would appear to be at the end of the room, or what you assume to be the end of the room, but you can't quite make out what it is.
Are they like large shapes?
I mean, from what they're best guess, you would assume that maybe like furniture of some kind. It's not like huge. It's not like a dragon or anything.
I'm not seeing anything besides rooms and furniture, it seems. On this side, at least. Want to take me over to the other side?
He will just nod and follow.
And as you look in there, you basically see all the same stuff, just from a different angle. One thing I'll note is that the entrances to the two rooms on either side also appear to be like archways that, from what you can tell, don't seem to have any symbols on them like the main entrance does. And I'll say that those archways do actually have doors, and both of those doors appear to be closed.
Well, there is something on the far side of the room, but it's too far for me to see. Besides that, there doesn't seem to be anything that ominous besides the symbol up there top of the door. There's two rooms, some furniture.
Do you see any of the lanterns? Are they close by to that we can light them up as we go in?
Does she see any nearby?
There appear to be
or torches or something.
I mean, that you don't see anything. Whatever the explorers, the archaeologists were using, it doesn't appear like there were any like permanent braziers or anything. So they must have been using torches somewhere, but you don't see anything like specific, like here's the source of light. Like there's nothing like that.
I've got a torch on my person. I suppose we can light that.
And how far is your dark vision? Is it 60 feet?
I assume so. I didn't mark it.
And dark vision's normally 60 feet.
For a half elf, yeah.
Yeah, it starts getting dim at 30 feet.
Okay. Yeah, so you can't see in the back. I probably even gave you more than you really could have seen, but
Bjorn's going to look to Sandra and just say, where was the last part of the temple you were looking?
what were you wanting to ask her?
He was asking where was the last part of the temple that they were like researching, looking at.
She didn't really know. Like she didn't spend too much time. What she basically tells you is that the room to the right. She sort of explained like the layout, because is that they didn't go into the room to the left because the door was jammed, and they didn't really bother to do it, because their main focus was the trenches on the outside. She said there's a room to the right that appeared to have some weird sort of like dark symbols and stuff all over the walls, but they just some bedrolls in there, and that's where they were staying. There was some weird stuff, like some weird altars and stuff, but she wasn't there long enough to really investigate. Like, so she stayed there for like a day, but she spent most of her time outside. She didn't really she didn't feel comfortable in this place.
Well, might be time to step inside and see if we can follow the blood.
Sounds good.
Yep.
About 3-5 minutes. We'll be right back.
All right.
Cool.
Excuse me.
Drow. There's a nice webcomic that goes a lot off of Drow culture called Drow Tales.
Just don't try to pronounce their city names because they're impossible.
Yeah. It
All right.
goes into a lot of it in clans and in the matriarchal and all that. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, you're fine. So, as you guys walk into, let me check something. Oh. All right. So as you enter, you see that the main chamber that you're in, it's roughly about 80 feet across. So like from the door, it's about 40 feet in each direction. And as you walk forward, you can see that the there's not a whole lot. Like the majority of like the temple itself appears to be pretty empty. But as you get towards the middle of the room, you can start to see the back. So it's about 80 feet across and roughly about 90 feet from the front door to the back wall. And as you get to the back there, why don't you guys roll an investigation check?
All of us or just
I
particulars?
mean, you can just do one person with advantage if you want.
Yeah, this is not my strength.
Yeah, so. All right, so what you notice is that there appear to be on the back wall near the door to the right where Sandra said that they were staying, there appear to be some crates, which what you can tell just look like basic supply crates, so like rations and some blankets, and you can see that around the area there appear to be some oil lamps, which is what they were probably using for light, but obviously none of them are lit. And you can see that on the sides of both the door on the right and the door on the left, there do appear to be some old rusted sconces that you didn't notice when you were just looking through the windows. Also, obviously not lit. But if you'd like, you could probably put your torches in there to sort of simulate the sconces there. But the other thing that you notice is that there are some pools of blood on the floor. And you can see, oddly, the pools of blood go off into three directions. So it obviously comes through the door, and then you see that there are trails that go to the door on the right, and then to the door on the left, and then they appear to go to the back wall and stop. You also notice at the back wall, there appears to be what you would assume it's like a stone plinth, so it looks similarly like I guess that you could call it an altar. And there are three sort of like divots. They almost look like, for us modern folk, they almost look like sinks. They're not, but they're just like they have that sort of like circular sort of divot. There's three of them. And then on the ground, you see some stuff strewn about. So looks like there's some broken boxes. There are also what appear to be bowls on the ground. That's pretty much what you see in the room.
It might help to light.
Actually, I take that back. One other thing with a 24 and 22 and a 19. You hear, this is probably more of a perception, but if you were investigating, you would probably get this too. You hear from the room on the left. You hear what is kind of a sound of like a wet sound of like biting and chewing, like somebody just like chewing with their mouth open, just really loudly, kind of that disgusting sound. The other thing is that you notice that I forgot to mention, as you walked into the temple itself, it smells horrible in here. Like it smells like decaying flesh. It smells like blood. It smells absolutely disgusting in here, and it sort of just like hangs in the air. I mean, it's to the point where it makes you even kind of think of like when you were in the forest and you sort of had that like thick, humid air. It's like that. It's like the stench is like almost like physically in the air, and it's like hitting you in the face, and it's horrible.
I'll suggest Lena and Soren both, see if they can light this scorn sconces, whatever. Yeah, point, but if we get into a tussle, I'm afraid you and Lena, Lena, they're gonna be the only ones of any use. I'm kind of at a disadvantage. I can't see in the dark. Well, us walking in here with torches, if that ain't already drawn attention, then what else could happen?
Bjorn's kind of looking at you and he goes, You hear these noises, yes? Something going. We should go. What if someone is alive in there and dead by the time we go?
It's a rather unpleasant thought. But we're still gonna need light.
Yeah, and
Right.
Lena will light the scones for him.
Is it like we would have to drop our torches into it? Or are there already torches there?
These appear to be old. Like these almost just appear to be the holders essentially. So you could put your torch in there and
Okay, yeah. Bjorn's gonna look for the one that's close. Like once there's light, he's gonna look for the one that's closest to the left door and put one in there and just start, just continue walking slowly towards it.
Just keep my be at the ready as we're walking in, due to sounds of gnawing and gnashing.
And as you get closer to the door there on the left, you notice that like Sandra had mentioned that the door was jammed and that they hadn't gone in there, but you notice that the door is slightly ajar now.
Yeah, Lena will motion for Sandra to keep back.
She sort of goes back. She sort of goes to the opposite side of the room and kind of like hides behind one of the pillars.
All right. Can I try to get as close as possible, as quietly as possible to the door? And if I do successfully get there without alerting anything, can I try to peek in?
Yep.
All right. So I guess stealth first. I don't think I've rolled anything over a 10.
I don't think you have either. So you get up there and as you're getting closer to the door, and basically the way that it's set up, right? So you're standing in front of the door, and the door opens inward, and so but the way that it works is that the door, the way that it's slightly ajar, when you look into it, you're looking at the wall. And so you can't, like, to the back wall, so you can't actually see anything. So like your thought is, like, I'll just kind of push this open a little bit, see if I can like get my head in to look around. And as you do that, it like scrapes against the floor and makes a very loud
noise. As soon as
noise.
it scrapes, I bash it open as hard as I can and just stand in the doorway.
All right, everybody roll initiative.
Hold on here. Oh,
I
I need to
got the
select my
tracker up.
token.
Yeah, have you got the tracker up?
That's the crit I
must be
needed.
lagging.
That is the crit I should have gotten. Yep.
How did three of us get 23?
That's crazy.
Matt, I 100% blame this on you the other day for saying, "Oh, maybe you guys will be stealthy. No one really has heavy armor."
Lino was stealthy.
And just as an explanation, and I know Mercer does something similar to this, but I don't think it's ever been specifically explained.
I'm gonna turn tiebreaker on.
But the way that I do, the way that I'm going to do like stealth is essentially will like I'm not going to necessarily do like the average, but essentially I'm going to like add it all up together. And essentially the way it'll work is that for us, it's hard because we don't have we have 4 people. So it's normally you would do, if you had 5, it would be if 3 people pass, then everybody passes.
Yeah.
So the way that we'll do it is I'll say if 2 people pass and nobody gets like below a 5, then it'll be a pass.
That works.
Just so that we're kind of understanding it, and it's not just me going, "Oh, well, you failed." It's like if two people pass and one person doesn't roll below a 5, then everybody will be considered stealthy. And I like the idea of it, and it's the idea that somebody who is stealthy. And this is generally would be good when you have a rogue, because it's sort of like a weird thing to say, like, well, how did the plate armor person like go through? So I like the idea that like the stealthier person kind of goes ahead and points out like, okay, here's like a stick or a stone or something that'll make noise, so watch out for that. So they're like leading the person along, like showing them don't step there, step here,
Watch
just
the
like
fire.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the idea of like, that's how you do it. A group stealth is that you've got someone who knows what they're doing, sort of leading the other people by the hand. So anyway, the other thing that will be a bit weird on this is that you guys won't see my initiative because we're not using maps. I have to put my tokens on this map that we're looking at, but I have to put it on the GM layer so that you guys don't see what you're going to fight at all times.
Gotcha.
So it won't show up on the turn order. However, I rolled a 7 and a 9, so they're going to go last anyway.
Gotcha.
All right. So you kick the door in and you go first, Bjorn.
Okay. What am I looking at?
Yeah. So as you kick in the door, what you notice is we'll just say that you were able to register this quickly, but what you see is that there are 2 creatures that are what appear to be eating a human woman, and she appears to be wearing like chainmail armor. The 2 creatures appear to be they appear to be like human size. So again, difficult to say if we're looking at like an elf or a human or whatever, but it's not a dwarf, and it's not a halfling or a gnome or anything like that. So those 2 creatures appear to be eating a person, and as you kick in the door, they both slowly sort of turn around, like they're not like jumping up to their feet like ready to attack. You kind of caught them by surprise, so essentially you guys all got a surprise round without really surprising them.
Okay.
Failed a stealth round, and then you still fight first.
All right. So how dark is it in the room? Like, am I able to see them, or
I would say that
is
because
the light not making way in?
You put the light outside the door, there's enough for you to see.
Okay.
You can't see the entirety of the room, but you can see them.
Okay. Well, yeah. I will just kind of. I'm assuming I don't recognize what the creatures are.
You could do a survival check. I don't know that you'd specifically know what they are. Yeah. These are ghouls.
Okay.
That's another thing that I want to bring up, that I forgot to bring up at the beginning of our little session here, is that because of the way I'm altering combat, also keep in mind, like, because I know a lot of you have played D&D before, So when I say a thing is a thing, so this is a ghoul, and you would all know, or those of you who would know that ghouls are generally not particularly like powerful enemies. But keep in mind that like that knowledge isn't necessarily always going to apply. So they're just like, oh, it's a wolf, or oh, it's a goblin, or oh, it's a ghoul. I know these are low level and I can kill them. Keep in mind that isn't necessarily always going to be the case. So just as that.
All right. Well, yeah. So since I can't see inside further, so not knowing if there are more there or not, I will kind of just like take one step, well, actually like 2 steps backwards. So like other people, if they wanted to go in, had room, and I would just kind of stand there, and you just see Bjorn start breathing very, very heavily and let out a bit of a scream, go into a rage, and I'm going to ready an attack for whichever one comes near me first.
Okay. And just so that you know, they're probably about 10 feet into the room.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, I'll do 1 step back. So that way only, like, maybe I could only let one of them out at a time.
Okay.
And actually, real quick question, because I've never done a barbarian before. Can I hold a reckless attack? Like, if I say it beforehand, can I make it a reckless attack when these things come out?
Still an attack you're holding. You can decide how.
Well, I didn't know if you could only do, because I thought it was you could only do reckless on your turn. Like I know you don't get reckless for.
I mean, if you want to get into the wording of that, I believe you couldn't, because it's you on your turn when you make your first attack on your turn.
I know you can't do it as a reaction.
Yeah, so I would.
So I didn't know if I could hold it.
I would say you probably couldn't.
Okay. Well, then I'll just have a regular attack ready for when they come out.
Okay. So, Lena, you are next.
Yeah, Lena will actually drop her rapier, pull out her pistol, and take a shot at the closest one.
Okay.
Let's see. Hopefully I did that correct.
As soon as you shoot, you just see Bjorn turn his head, like, just extremely scared and look at you
what
like,
the
what
fuck was that?
Yeah, and it's the chamber is mostly stone, and you're standing in the main chamber, which is again like 80 by 90. So like that is loud, like because again, I mean, like these are essentially like, you know, muskets. So I mean, it's going to be bright because there's going to be the powder flash, and then there's going to be that bit of that smoke in the air as well. So like Bjorn, this would be all new to you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you want, I'll even roll like a save to see if I can pay attention to keep my attack, because he would be scared shitless.
Yeah, do a concentration check.
A concentration check? So that's a Constitution save, right?
I can never fucking remember what.
It's a yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That I'm pretty good at, so we'll see. Okay.
Seeing that she's pulling this out, do I have time to close my eyes?
What's your dexterity?
Who, me?
Yeah.
16.
Sure. Yeah.
And Lena will just be like, whoops, I did not realize that would be this loud here.
That does hit, however. Yeah, I mean, 20 definitely hits.
8 damage.
What is the reload for misfire 1? I've never played it in the game.
4 bullets per shot, and if she rolls a 1, it misfires, and she has to fix it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then after 4 shots, she has to spend a turn to reload.
Okay.
I don't think it's a whole turn. I think it's an action.
Yeah, that's
an action.
That's the turn.
Action or
at this
attack.
level, yeah.
Action or attack. So if I've got multiple attacks, I can reload and then fire again.
Holy shit! I didn't realize pistols did that much damage.
Well, your action is either you attack twice or you spend that action reloading. That's why Percy would always do it as his bonus action.
Okay.
Yeah, let me pull this up. I have the gunslinger class. I've never played in a game with somebody who played one. My only knowledge of it is from Percy watching the first one.
Yeah, he always spent his bonus action reloading.
So at 3rd level,
or fixing the misfire.
So yeah, you technically don't even have proficiency with it
Nope.
yet. So you're just like fire. That's why you fired it in a room. Like, I don't know what this does. Bang. All right. So that 8 points of damage. All right.
Yeah, and that is all she does. She would probably move back a bit to
18
let
and
other people
16.
run in if they need to.
Just don't forget to. Never mind.
Yep. It's your turn.
So yeah, when I see her pull the pistol out due to I've trained, I close my eyes for a split second so I don't lose my dark vision. What little I have as a human. Their attention's well grabbed. I will run up behind excuse me, Bjorn, and ready an attack as well. Well, I'll run up next to him and run the attack.
Okay.
Still leaving room, I guess, to the other side so that they can come out, not blocking the way. And Glaive does have a 10-foot reach.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Soren, you're up. I would like to blade song. Seems pretty broken. Okay. Strength saving. Rolled a 3. Well, he is like at the door frame essentially at this point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how far away you were. I don't remember how far you said from the door.
Well, I was at the door when I opened it, and I said I took a step back. So, and then he ran up next to me. So,
yeah,
up to you.
I think both of you probably get a hit on it.
Okay.
If I don't impale him.
All right. I will swing in my rage.
I don't know if a 9 hits or not.
9 does not hit. 16, however,
16.
does.
All right.
So the Soren throws this lightning whip, which takes this creature by surprise and sort of like wraps around it a little bit, and it starts to sort of fly forward. And as it's going by, Kadir is a little bit caught off guard because he's like, "What the fuck was that?" And sort of just like a little bit too late, swings at it and misses. And then Bjorn, you basically just kind of like baseball bat it.
Yeah, I already shit my pants from the gunshot, so that whip didn't surprise me.
Like, I don't know what's happening anymore, but you see something coming at you, and you like
loud noises are happening and stuff's going on.
Somebody's
so just
using
focus.
magic. Oh shit!
rear back and smash it in the face, and it crumples to the floor, sort of making all these sickening sort of like sucking sounds, and it's just like it's pretty nasty. All right. So that creature, that ghoul decides to wrong thing. So it's not looking too great. The teeth that it had, the rather sharp teeth, big part of its face is sort of smashed. So it the creatures or enemies that you're fighting have no motivation to do so. It's just, I need a roadblock, so I'm going to put them there, and then you have to kill them and then move on to the next thing to kill. So one of the things also to make it all seem a little bit more realistic is that the reality is that how often are you going to come across something that will, you spook it and it will immediately fight you to the death? Like, it's not all that, like, it just doesn't seem realistic. So another thing that will happen a lot, and just, it's not like it's a big deal because you guys would probably go after it, but if something's near death, particularly if it's like a beast, it's going to try and run away. Like, because why does a wolf want to fight you to the death, right? Like, it's like, I was fighting you and now I'm really, really hurt and now I need to run. Like, it's fight or flight, not just like in the D&D world. It's always like, you've walked into my chamber, I shall kill you or die trying. It's like, that's stupid. Anyway, Bjorn, it is now your turn.
All right. Yeah, I am going to go reckless at this thing, and I am going to try to literally, like Ken Griffey Jr. swing, knock its jaw off going upward.
Okay.
And 20.
Oh yeah. You rear back and you swing and trying to just take its jaw, and it like rips its head completely off, and it just sort of like falls limply back, and its head bounces off the door frame and then sort of like lands right in front of the other ghoul that is now just looking even more like
I will kind of just like let out like a little bit of a low growl and run in and get behind this thing in case it tries to run away.
Damn, max damage.
and it only had eight hit points left. So
yeah, that will be the end of my turn.
Lena, it is your turn. Right now you can see there is a ghoul about 5 feet standing behind the door frame with another ghoul's head in front of it, and then Bjorn standing beside it, like to the back of it.
Yeah, Lena will just be like, cover your ears, and then take another shot.
Damn.
Oh, my roll 20 is there.
You might want to remove the proficiency until you get there.
I did. She gets +2 for ranged attacks.
Ah, that's right. The Gunslinger's a fighter archetype.
Nice. So to follow up with our earlier conversation, since it's the first crit of the game, you put that bullet straight through its brain. It blasts out in the back. It like splatters Bjorn in the face with this just sort of disgusting black rotting blood, little bits of brain stuck in his beard, and it just it doesn't make a sound. It just bullet straight through its temple, or I mean through its forehead, out the back, and it just slumps forward, and that's it.
Alina just looks down at the pistol, is like, whoa.
Did the bullet hit me?
No, the bullet went out.
Okay.
Went past. You just got covered in the gore. Or I don't know if you guys watched the little one shot they did for what's his face, Stephen Colbert, but just covered in black ichor.
Mm. Bjorn does not seem to mind at all. He kind of just he after it goes down, he kind of turns around and just starts looking for anything else moving.
You do not see anything else moving.
Takes him a while to calm down. Then he kind of just takes a deep breath, puts his maul back over his back, and turns around and walks straight towards Lena. And he goes, "What was that?"
Oh, this is, do you remember those larger guns? This is another gun, and she holds it out towards him.
He kind of like jumps back, not jumps back, but like pulls away a little bit from it. He goes, "Ew. Good," and he just kind of walks backwards.
Thank you. And she puts it away, goes and grabs her rapier, puts that away too. Keeps her shield out, though.
Is little Bjorn scared of the boomstick?
Surprise, yes.
It was a lot louder here than used outdoors. I've actually admittedly never used it indoors before.
5'4" guy looking up at a 6-foot guy, calling you little.
So as you can, the combat ends and you guys like all. Sandra can see that you've all sort of relaxed and everything.
Can I go? Oh, I was gonna say, can I go and pull the bodies out into the light so she doesn't have to go in the room?
Yeah, and looking at the bodies, she does. You can see that she's starting to get tears in her eyes, and she can verify that the two ghouls were Salen, who was the elf, and Timothy, the human male. The woman that they were eating appears to be wearing the same armor as the woman who got her head smashed in at the lodge. So you all are kind of assuming that her body was one of the ones that was taken from the lodge, and actually, Adira was correct, and that it's basically like they took her for food. But yeah, she does recognize the two ghouls as previously being the elf, one of the elves and the human. If you guys want to go in and investigate the room, you can do that as well.
Yep. Lena will go in and investigate.
Bjorn's going to take a second and just move all the bodies near the door, like all the corpses, the ghouls included.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll help him out, move him.
So as you're looking in there, and I'm assuming you're taking the torches and stuff, and then obviously for those that you can actually see as well. You can see up on the high parts of the wall. You didn't notice this when you were outside, but there appear to be very thin sort of slits. They're not. It's hard to call them windows, but they're little slits in the stone where you can see at this point what appears to be moonlight coming in, because it is dark outside at this point. But not a whole lot of light, not a lot of light that you would really be able to see much, but you can see at least little slivers of light coming up from the top of the walls. You also can see that there are a bunch of tiles, like there was a tile mosaic up on the wall that shows seeds and acorns and nuts, sort of decorating the walls. And then you can see that the ceiling is actually has engravings on it, and it shows kind of it's a weird representation, but there are humanoid babies. So it's what appear to be elves and humans and stuff, but they're babies, not children, but actual babies. And then there are calves and baby chickens and other just all kinds of creatures, but they're all babies.
Actual bodies, corpses, or
no, just like
drawings
of them. Yeah.
Okay.
but it's a really strange sort of like it's not beautiful. It's not done in a particularly like it was. It's not like it was done for like artistic value. It's just more of like you would look at it as like it's a symbolism type thing. And it almost just looks more creepy than anything.
Huh.
Yeah, Lena would lean out of the room and be like, Sandra, what does strange baby mosaics refer to?
And she goes into the details of what they were kind of assuming, and that this temple and this death cult was sort of about the birth and then the life and then the death and then the rebirth. So they had her guess, because they hadn't been in this room before, would be that this would be the cycle of birth. It makes sense for what they had been researching. And she sort of looks around the main chamber, kind of like looking at the ceiling and everything to see if there's anything that she could see in the main room itself. There doesn't appear to be anything specific in the main chamber, but there are. If you guys want to investigate the main chamber to see if there's anything else that you can, now that you know specifically what to look for.
Well, when she says that, Bjorn's gonna kind of just not even say it to anyone, but just say he's gonna go pick up like the mangled head of the ghoul and say, "Is this the rebirth?"
She just kind of, because this was her associate at the very least, I wouldn't necessarily friend, but she's just kind of like taken aback by it, and I suppose
it's babies on there. I did not know if it was born again as baby or whatever this is.
Well, the inside mosaics could just be symbolism. It is possible that rebirth in this case does mean ghoul. I mean, Sandra did mention that they were performing necromancy, so.
When he picks up the head to show her, and as soon as he does that and asks her, I kind of jump up and slap him on the back of the head. Hey, it's a little insensitive, you think?
It is monster. What is problem?
That was her friend.
It is not friend anymore. It's different.
Don't matter. Have a little common sense.
He just throws it back into the pile of all the dead bodies he moved in. Just kind of stands there waiting for the next move.
I guess we check the right room next, and then perhaps the possible false wall.
Well, yeah, I was gonna have you guys look in the main room after Sandra sort of made the revelation of the.
Right.
So you guys take another look around and focusing more on like the altar and what like you mentioned, what possibly could be a false wall. So you notice that the plinth or the altar appears to be sort of circular, and you notice actually when you first were glancing over it, you noticed like you saw like some broken boxes and what appeared to be some bowls and stuff on the ground. But as you're looking closer, you notice that there are you kind of dust off the altar there, and the circular openings around the rim of each opening. There is some engravings, and they sort of loop around and make all of the. It makes it look like the three openings are all sort of like connected together. The engravings are in Elvish, but it's an ancient form of Elvish. If anybody wants to do like an intelligence check and you speak Elvish, you can do so.
Yeah, I speak Elvish.
I do too.
You should. I mean, really, everybody but Bjorn. You should all speak Elvish just because you live on the.
Well, I mean, the only reason I did Elvish was because you said this was mainly an Elvish island, so I figured I'd have tribe members.
Right. Yeah. So Adira, it's like it's just like the syntax and the grammar kind of throws you off, and you're not really getting it. But for everybody else, you get the gist of it basically. I mean, it is an ancient form of Elvish, and it's not like some of the words. It's like trying to read Old English, where you can, like, if you really sit down and look at it, you can kind of get what it is, but it's not. The letters are a little bit different, and obviously, like the order of the words are a little different, but essentially, it says what lives will die, and what dies will be reborn. And you can see that looking at those bowls, you notice that they're all actually a little bit different. One of them appears to be made of gold. One of them appears to be made of iron, and then there is one that appears to be made of like black stone, which might be onyx. It's hard to tell. Probably onyx. And you all sort of get like it starts to click. Like you notice, like, okay, well, these bowls look like they fit in these openings.
Probably represent birth, life, and death.
Yeah, so it's all like starting to make sense now. And then you can see that it looks like it was supposed to have been sitting on top of the altar, but it looks like it had fallen off the back, so you didn't see it initially. There's a small box, and it contains, you open it up, and it looks like it's got, like, from, like, initially, you're like, okay, this looks like a bunch of random crap. But you notice that there are about maybe 6 or so eggs inside. There is a small knife that appears to be stained with what appears to be, you've all seen enough of it. It looks like it's stained with blood. And there's also a mortar and pestle. And there's a bunch of chicken bones, or what you assume are chicken bones, small animal bones, tied up with string. And as you leaned over to pick up the box behind the altar, you noticed the that trail of blood, sort of like is directly, it like goes up against this wall, and it sort of looks like it's almost like seeping underneath it. So it does look like there may be a door, but you can't. It looks like a stone wall, but putting 2 and 2 together.
Well, putting 2 and 2 together for Bjorn means he's going to go push it against that wall and
2
try
plus
to
2 equals
force it
chair.
open.
Yeah, and nothing happened.
Okay.
Would be safe. Would be wise to look around. Make sure there aren't any more of them. So I kind of sweep my glaive out, showing, pointing towards the bodies of the ghouls, corpses.
I'm in agreement. And she heads towards the door.
I will go grab my torch that's still in the other thing and move it over to the other side.
Okay.
Yep. Once he does that, she pulls out her rapier and opens the door.
So as you open the door, you get even more of that. If you didn't think it was possible, but it smells even worse as you open up the door. You notice a number of things. The first thing that you notice is there is what appears to be a smaller looking ghoul that appears to be dead. It actually looks like its head has been smashed in with something heavy. You notice the rest of the room is that it confirms what Sandra had told you, in that that you see bed rolls, and you see like a handful of bags and some cooking equipment. There does appear to be a small little chest that they were keeping something in, but you're not entirely sure.
Sandra,
Yes.
your dwarven friend, Samus.
Mm-hmm.
Judging by what our marauder friend said earlier, doesn't want to mess with someone. I'm assuming that's probably his handiwork. Pointing to the ghoul, the smashed in
Yeah.
head.
Seems possible.
Huh.
I mean, I don't see. I mean, he's not here.
Very likely.
Is this the little one?
And she walks up and she does recognize that as Deacon, who was the halfling.
Bjorn's gonna look at her and say, "Close eyes, quick." And if she does, even if she doesn't, he's going to pick up the little body and walk it over to the pile of the other ones.
Okay. You guys can do like an investigation check of the room if you'd like.
Yeah, Lena will take a quick peek around.
And Sandra sort of just walks out, like she doesn't want to be in there. And if you want to take anything like from the room, none of it is Sandra's. Like she wasn't staying there or anything like that. So this is an FYI. But
From their, this is the room they were sleeping in.
Yeah.
All right. So is there like a lamp, an actual lamp or anything?
Yeah, they would have lamps in there that you could. They're not lit, but you could light them. Like there's some oil lamps in there.
Yeah, I'll definitely light a couple of lamps and hang them if I can hang them. If not, then I'll definitely set them out to kind of light things up.
Yeah, I mean, there's like at least something that you could put it on, like stack. Because there's boxes and stuff that you put one on and light the room pretty well. So what you see, in addition to like the bags and the cooking equipment, and there's a small little chest in there as well. You can see if you want, or I guess I should clarify. Do you want to go through this stuff? Like, do you want to go through the bags and the boxes?
Yeah, I'll look through the bag, see if we can find anything useful for us.
Okay.
You never know.
So before we do that, I'll describe what like the room is. So what you see is it's almost like a mirror image of the other room as far as like sort of like the way that is laid out. But the walls in this room, whereas the other one had the tiles of like the acorns and seeds and stuff, this is inlaid with like withered thorns and like roses that have like they're depicted of like the petals and stuff falling off. And you can see that like the ceiling is this like maze of like bones and skulls, and obviously you would like assume, since that there was the room over there, it was birth, this would be the room that would be the death. So going through the stuff, in the small chest you find 5 gold pieces. Going through the bags, you notice actually a small little vial with a red liquid in it. You see that there are there's some paper scattered across the floor, and some of it's stained with blood. You pick up some of it, and some of them are ruined by the blood, but some of them are legible. And basically, it sort of describes them of what they found. There's a small passage that you're able to read, which says, "Found a bowl in Trench 8 this morning. This time made of what we think to be onyx. It matches the shape of the 2 that we already uncovered and has similar engravings on it. It's all a bit cryptic, but Varen says he thinks it's the key to unlocking the secrets of this old place. Stonehammer isn't too happy about it, but then again, he never is." And then it sort of like trails off. But that does mention Varen, who was the head, the other elf. The 2 people, basically, it mentions the 2 people you haven't found yet. So Varen being the head of the expedition and Stonehammer being the dwarf. And that's all that you find in there. I mean, if nobody stops you, I suppose you could.
Mm. When while they're doing that, uh, it's not like they're gonna have any use of it anymore. But you might want to check the bodies, see if you can find anything of any use on them. All things considered, if we run into any more trouble down here, anything useful can help us in a bind.
And Soren, if you want, like, while they were going through and looking at that, if you wanted to like go off and do something.
And Lena would be going through the bodies just to make sure that there's no like extra healing kits, extra bandages, I guess, or whatever else might be useful.
You don't find anything like that. Soren, if you, I don't know who picked up the small vial, but
I
whoever
was looking
has,
through it.
yeah, so you would see that glowing if you. Nope. This is it.
How would you know this? You're not a hunter, are you? Hmm.
Well, what does everybody else want to do now? So you at this point, you basically you have the bowls and you've looted the stuff, but
If Lena would get on to trying to figure out this puzzle.
Yeah, Bjorn would be there trying to help, but most likely hurting more than anything else.
so we'll follow up with like the previous sort of like investigation check, and so like the bowl, each of the bowls also has an engraving around the rim. The golden bowl translate again. This is rough, but it's the golden bowl is essentially engraved to say the essence of birth. The iron bowl is the essence of life, and the obsidian bowl or the onyx bowl is the essence of death. And
Yes,
then anybody who's trying to figure out the puzzle, do an intelligence check.
I'll help.
Ooh.
And you can do that while everybody's trying to do this. So amazingly, Bjorn, the intelligent barbarian, and Lena, and Bjorn, this actually wouldn't. This actually kind of makes sense that you would somewhat be aware of something like this. Is that you would like? It's not exactly the same, obviously, as what you experienced, but you would be able to realize that this looks like it would be an altar for offerings. So this is the idea of like you found all those things in the box behind the thing. So you're thinking, okay, well, we've got these bowls, we've got these items, you know.
And you said the bowls fit into the things, right?
Correct.
Is it obvious what order they go in? Like now that we know what the bowls are meaning.
Yeah, I mean, like you would assume like left to right, like birth, life, death, like.
Okay.
Which is even how like the rooms are laid out, which is like birth, life, and life in the middle, and then death. So.
All right. So I'll look to Lena and be like, hey, do we put them in?
Yes, I believe that is correct. And she'll set the bowls into the altar and then hold out the box of items to Bjorn.
He kind of looks at it a little bit confused. And what was in there again? It was like the bones and the eggs and stuff.
So yeah, you notice, and as you're picking up the bones, do a perception check. Lena, yeah, even with the 13, so like you could, looking at the bowls, you can see the like residue on the bowls. So it would be like the idea of like you have to do something with these items in each bowl. It wouldn't just be like placing the item in the bowl. Like you just have to like do something.
Is it like blood in the bowls?
Well, like that's the thing, right? So like there's eggs, there's a dagger which is stained with blood,
Okay.
and then there were like bones as
Okay.
well.
So he'll look to her and just, perhaps this, and he's gonna take one of the eggs and put it in the life bowl or a born bowl. He'll take the dagger and reopen up one of his own scars and let it drip into the middle one, and then just take some of the bones and throw it in the last one.
Okay. So you can see that like the life bowl, as the blood drips in there, like the bowl kind of spins a little bit and it kind of like locks into place. The ones where you place the bone and the egg, nothing happened.
Lena takes up the, I guess there was a mortar and pestle or something, and grinds up some of the bones and sprinkles them into the death bowl.
And as you do that, it sort of like turns a little bit in the opposite direction and actually like locks into place.
Perfect. Now we just need to birth some eggs.
How many more eggs are in the thing?
There are about 6 eggs. That you
Okay,
poured in the box.
just trying it. Bjorn is going to look at the egg, crack it open, and put it in.
Yeah. And as you do that, it spins and locks into place.
I thought I was going to fuck it up.
Yeah, I mean, like,
sacrificial bowls.
Right, exactly.
Well, yeah, I was thinking maybe something like, you had to heat it up or something like that, but I didn't think cracking it would work.
That's a good thought too. So as you they all click into place, the wall behind actually sort of like slides back and then slides off to the right. So it like goes back and then slides off to the right, and then as soon as it does that, you get like even more of this horrible smell. It's to the point where it almost makes you faint. How absolutely horrible the smell is coming from this chamber that has just opened up. You can see that there are some shallow steps that are going down from where you are.
I'm assuming pitch black again.
Yeah.
They're actually like it's there are it appears to be sort of a winding staircase, and you can see that there actually are torches that are lit.
Okay. Yeah, Bjorn. I'm assuming Lena's with me, so she sees it too. He's just gonna kind of do like a little low and get the attention of it's Adrena.
A deer.
Okay, I thought it was with an N for some reason, and just get your attention, and then kind of look around for Soren as well, and not see where he is, and just like these ones are lit.
And everybody make a Constitution saving throw.
Yeah. Yay!
As long if you're still in the main chamber, so Adira and Soren, like you guys are okay. Lena and Bjorn, you both throw up. The smell is so bad you can't keep yourself from just. It's the smell of that rotting flesh and old blood, and it turns your stomach and you throw up.
Oh, I don't know if I'll be able to go down there, and she kind of steps back. Yes, obviously. And she just tries to cover up her nose and mouth.
I'm gonna go into I'm gonna just take one of my hand axes off of my waist and just one of the furs that I'm wearing, just just slice a portion of it off and look at Lena, hold it up over my face, and then hand it to her.
Thanks, I'm sure that smells much better. And she holds it over her nose.
It just smells like just nasty BO and sweat.
Better than death.
And because of the condition he was in, it probably smells a bit like an infection.
I pull out my flask.
But even with all of that, it probably does smell better than than this. So, are you guys gonna go? Are you guys gonna make your way down the stairs?
Oh, if lights are on, Bjorn will look, find where Sandra is, and say, "You wait here. If in case door closed, you can open again. Yes."
And
how far down does it look like it goes in there?
It's hard to tell because it's a winding staircase. So,
all right, I'll take one of my javelins out. And he's like, "You mean any more cloth?"
He looks a little bit confused and just cuts
uh,
off another little piece.
Yeah, I'll tie it to the end of my javelin, not at the very end. Then hold the cloth over one of the flames so it lights up. And I'm gonna just toss the javelin down there.
It's like a spiral staircase, I thought.
Well, so, it's not. Well, I guess I shouldn't didn't describe this very well. So it's not like a staircase. It's carved into the earth. So like there's walls all the way around it, but you can see it starts to turn, so you can't see the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm still gonna toss it as far as I can, give us some light ahead.
Well, it's lit. Like there are torches as you walk and look around the corner and stuff. You can see that probably every,
okay, I
every
get
few
you.
feet. Yeah.
And then never mind. I don't even do that then.
Okay. So I mean, yeah, you're basically just like walking. It's like there's no opening on the stairs, like so it's just like carved into the earth, and it sort of like curves around so you can't see the bottom of it right now. It's not like a spiral staircase where it's like straight up and down. It's just more of a winding staircase, I guess, than a spiral staircase.
Yeah, Bjorn is going to pull out his warhammer or his maul and just kind of say, "Stay behind me, yes," and start heading off.
So as you guys are going down, again, you have to fight off the urge to retch as you're going down, because it progressively is getting even worse. If you didn't think it was possible, but I mean, it's just overpowering how terrible this is. And you can see that, or as you're going down, you see that like it doesn't. Even though these torches are lit, you obviously recognize that these are recently lit, because you can see that there are like these ancient spider webs, and like it's very damp, and there's like moss on the stairs and stuff. So that doesn't help the smell either. But it's about 40 feet that it takes you to get down to what appears to be the bottom there. And as you get to the bottom, the ground is very soft, and there does appear to be a small amount of standing water. It's not like it's up to your knees or anything, but it's pretty squishy down there. And you can see that there is a open doorway that you can see, and that there are sconces, lights, torches on the sides of that as well. And as you're sort of walking through towards it, I mean, you see that this definitely does not appear to be as well made as like the temple above. Like there is some stonework down here, but it's mainly just more rugged and rough. And you can see that there are the stone pillars that are holding this place up down here don't appear to have been made particularly well. You see that there are a bunch of like bones that look like they've been here for, I mean, you have no idea how long, but a really long time. And there also appear to be like on the walls, like primitive paintings. Like there's even like handprints on the wall, in different colors, like blues and things like that. So it's not like it's blood or anything. It looks like it was purposely put there. You as you get a little bit further along, because this as you get to the bottom of the stairs, you can see that opening. That opening is probably about 50 feet down. So as you're walking with your lights and everything, that you can kind of see that as you get closer and closer to the door, those primitive paintings start to get a little bit more detailed, and it starts to show like humanoids that are like tearing into each other with claws and teeth, and biting at each other, and like that's just like starting to cover the walls, and then it even starts to like move up onto the ceiling. It's pretty disturbing to look at, and you can see that there are overturned chairs, and there appears to be another altar that was like even bigger than the one that was up there, but it's been smashed and it's laying on the ground. And you can see that all around that broken altar there are a bunch of like stone knives, which all of you would recognize that like stone knives are that's real old, right? And you can see that laying on top of that broken altar, there appear to be like humanoid bones, whereas if somebody was like left there to die, or it's hard to really tell. There are a few other bodies that are strewn about, but those the next two bodies that you see, they appear to be much newer than the it's not a skeleton. There's still some like disgusting rotting flesh on them, which is partially why you're assuming that it smells so horrible, because they've just been left there to rot. And then lying just in front of the doorway, because I'll say you guys are about 20 feet, but with the light you can see right in front of the archway to this what looks like another chamber in there that you can't quite see what's going on in there yet. There is a crumpled form of what appears to be a dwarf, long beard, and he has a bald head with this like sort of jagged wound across the top of his head where it looks like somebody hit him with something rather hard.
Dead, or does he look like he's breathing?
Oh, he's dead. Yeah,
Right.
he's definitely dead. And as you get up towards the body, you can hear in the distance in that room beyond, it looks like there's another altar in that room as well, and you sort of get the faint sound of like crying.
Crying?
Yes.
Like infant or painful?
Or
Like
childish?
not childish. It appears to be like an adult sobbing.
All right. And just, I mean, because this whole undead thing is new to Bjorn. It sounds completely different than what like the creature, the ghoul, sounded like, right?
Yeah, this just sounds like a
Okay.
human that is.
He is going to say something is alive and just take off running.
No, be careful, and Lena follows after him.
Okay. So as you get into the room itself is relatively sparse. It's not exactly what you were expecting. But behind the altar that was there, you do find an elven man, and he, as you're approaching, he doesn't really initially seem to notice you, and it looks like he was there trying to hide. And it looks like he's wearing robes, and they look like they were probably at one point pretty nice, but at this point they're covered in filth and blood and mud. And one thing that you notice is that as he's crouching down and sort of like hiding and like kind of crying to himself, he is holding what appears to be actually do a no I'll just give it to you. It looks like, Bjorn, like you would assume it looks like a mace, but it's not. It doesn't look like it's made of metal, and you can't see it fully because he's sort of like protectively holding it. But from what you can gather, it looks like it is a mace, but the handle appears to be made out of like a rather large bone, and then the head of the mace actually appears to be, whereas the handle looks like it's made of bone, the hammer part of this mace looks like it's probably made of stone, but it is in the shape of a humanoid skull. You can tell that that's not bone because of the way that the heft of it and the way that it's shaped. But it looks like it was designed to look like a humanoid skull.
These robes that he has on, is it similar to what Sandra was wearing?
Yeah, they at one time they were nice green,
Okay.
dark green robes.
All right. I'll like look around for any danger, like anything that looks like it's moving or.
You said it was Vern or Salem that we found dead earlier.
Salem was the one who was dead earlier. You would assume, without Sandra, you don't know, but you would assume, given that what he's wearing and everything, that this would be Varen, who would have been like the leader of the group.
Varen? Is it you?
And he sort of stops sobbing for a second and does that little, like trying to catch his breath and everything. And he just sort of nods. And as you're looking around the room, you notice that there are actually a couple of what appear to be, I guess, fresh is the word. But there are a couple of dead bodies in here as well.
Like dead bodies or undead bodies?
At this point, they appear to be dead bodies.
Dead is still dead.
And it looks like they have been gnawed on a little bit. Well, not anything as bad as what previously, but.
All right.
But Varen, what did happen here?
He goes like, we found this chamber a few days ago, and it was basically like this, but those bodies weren't here. This item, and he holds up the what appears to be, again, it's not obviously a mace, but it look the best you can guess. It's kind of like
it's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean it like Bjorn could probably swing it with one hand, but Varen,
I guess what I'm getting at is he strong enough? Does he look strong enough to hold it, use it?
Yeah. Varen, like he looks like he could swing it with two hands. He's not. He's your more your stereotypical elf. He's somewhat tall, but he doesn't look particularly muscular necessarily. But he looks like he's not like dragging it or anything. He's like he holds it up.
He's not a wimp.
Right. And he says that this was laying on the altar here, and we assumed that it was an object of worship for the cult. And after a while, though, everybody started acting really weird, and eventually, and then he sort of just like motions over to the dwarf and says he attacked me, and I had to defend myself, so I hit him with this.
How long has it been since we left the room where they were sleeping and we got down here?
It's probably only been maybe half an hour, 45 minutes at the most.
Okay.
And he says that the rest of his group started to turn into monsters, so he turned turned over all the bowls and everything, and locked the door and sealed himself in there to say safe.
So he said that. All right, Bjorn's gonna look at him and say, "What happened to these ones?" And he's gonna point at the other ones in there.
And he sort of he kind of gets a little like taken aback a little bit, like he doesn't quite know what to say.
Did they attack you? Did they become creatures?
You can see that you can see he's just sitting there trying to think about what to say.
Can I look at him really well? Like, I want to walk straight up to him and look at him really well. Is there anything about him? Like, anything, like, does it look like he's changing it all since he's the one who brought up, like, they turned into these things?
Do a perception check.
Perception. Nope.
As you get closer to him, he just kind of like he sort of like bows his head down a little bit and kind of backs up. He still hasn't answered what happened with these two.
Do you know what your friends turned into?
And he just nods affirmatively.
Is this happening to you?
He's like, I feel fine.
Do I believe him?
Do a insight. Adir, you think he might be on the up and up. Bjorn, you do not believe him.
All right. I'm gonna look at him and you said he bowed his head down.
Yeah.
I'm going to just grab a shoulder and like force him to look up and just say, "Did you kill these ones?"
And he doesn't say anything. Make a dexterity saving throw.
Fuck.
That ain't gonna help.
Oh my god! I can hit things. I can't do anything else.
Even with danger sense, that's not gonna help you.
Nope.
Here. Okay, so all right. So as you get close and put your hand on his shoulder, he reaches back and like does like an under, I guess an uppercut, and with the mace, and he catches you under the jaw. You take 12 points of bludgeoning damage and are knocked prone.
Okay.
Everybody else, go ahead and make a and actually, Bjorn, you would need to do this too. Everybody make a charisma saving throw.
Oh, fuck me.
Not terrible.
All right. So, you all, as soon as he does that, all of you hear like this, like penetrating, like it's like a penetrating scream inside your skull. Everybody is taken aback by it, and it kind of like gets you a bit of a headache right away. Adir, you take 2 points of psychic damage. I'm sorry, 3 points of psychic damage. Everybody else does. You don't take any damage. It just sort of throws you back. And then go ahead and roll initiative.
Everyone's gonna roll the same initiative every time.
Yeah, what is that?
No, I got a different one.
No, you both rolled 21.03.
Oh, well, the 3 is because that's my modifier.
Mm-hmm.
I turned the tiebreaker on. It just means we get to decide. You want to go? Do I go first?
He got a 16, so he's ahead of you, Bjorn. But behind
I deserve it.
else.
I deserve it.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that you would anyway.
Yeah.
So, Yeah. Lena, you just saw him smash Bjorn in the face and take him to the ground, and then he just sort of like turned really quick to look at all of you, and you got that sort of like scream in your head, and then he just like you can see that he kind of snarls, and as he does so, that you can see that like his mouth, you can see like bits of like flesh in his teeth, and there's like blood in his mouth, which you didn't notice initially because of the way he was keeping his head down and everything, but he looks crazed at this point.
Okay, she will let out a squeal and fire in a panic. Yeah.
And it misses, ricochets, and smacks Bjorn. No. So yeah, he sees you sort of fumbling for the gun to pull it out, and he's sort of ready for you when you fire it off, and he's out of the way before it hits him. Not that he was actually dodging a bullet, because that would be stupid, but
she's going to action surge and then try again.
all right. So a 17 definitely does hit. Points of damage. So he sees you fumbling, and he's sort of like ready and ready to get out of the way as you sort of like fire. He sort of sees the general direction that you were aiming and gets out of the way. But he was very smug about it, and so he's like laughing at the fact that you could possibly hit him, in which you quickly you cock back and shoot again, and he wasn't paying attention, and it just like hits him in the side of the forehead and just like scrapes across, and he starts bleeding down into his eyes, and he screams in bloody rage, and he looks even more terrifying than
she screams back and kind of tries to hide a little bit behind her shield.
All right, here you are up. You just took some psychic damage from that scream.
I'm going to shake my head as I took that little bit of psychic, trying to clear my head as if, and just see this look of extreme concentration and focus as I zone in on him. Basically, I'm going into a rage, but call it extreme combat focus.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I am just going to step in close enough and stab him.
All right, so he sees you coming, and as the glaive comes in, he like bats it out of the way with the mace.
And then I'm just going to all right, so he's there, and Bjorn is off to the side.
To try to sort of get you acclimated to where it is. The room is basically is like 10 by 20, so it's 10 feet across and 20 feet deep. So you guys are like all in the chamber. The altar is about 10 feet from the back wall, and he's standing behind it. And then Bjorn is on the floor behind the altar right now. So you actually could probably see, if he fell on his back, you could probably see Bjorn, his head, peeking out from behind the altar. So you could have gone up towards the altar and then, tried to glaive him without getting behind the altar. Because, I mean, obviously you have enough reach that you could have just gone over the...
Yeah, and then I'll step back another 5 feet.
Okay. Because, yeah, if you were in 10 feet, then he wouldn't have been able to get an attack of opportunity on you, so...
Yeah, basically the idea, even though Bjorn's there, maybe he might be able to, I don't know, maybe grab at him, I don't know. Hopefully he's not out of commission.
All right, Soren, you are up. Crit, maybe you'll just kill him, right? That's... Not quite as good as a rage. So it has to be more hit points than he has, right? He has more than 27. But not by a lot. So you cast that spell. What does it look like? Does it you have a pinch of fine sand, rose petals, or a cricket? Like rose petals and crickets, those are interchangeable. Like really?
Oh no, I think it's one of the three you need, right? It's either
Yeah,
a
it's
pinch of
one of the
sand or
three.
rose
Yeah,
petal.
one of the three. That makes sense.
He can probably just grab some dust off of the ground.
Off the ground, yeah. But it's all of those things. So
Here,
you have to make
pocket
hand
sand
motions.
in the face.
You have to make a hand motion and speak it. So everybody in the room now knows that you do magic. Yes. Right.
If it makes you feel better, Bjorn probably didn't realize that.
Hey, you just confirm my suspicions.
Welcome to the worlds of spellcasters.
Don't worry, now he's just gonna bite my face off.
All right. So it is now his turn. And he is going to attack Bjorn with advantage because he's on the ground.
Yep.
So he is going to attempt to smash your face with his mace.
Mm-hmm.
That is a 20 to hit.
That hits.
And so you take 8 points of bludgeoning damage.
All right.
And he will back away into the corner. So since you're down, you can't get to him as the attack of opportunity. So he will disengage. And well, he's not really disengaging; he's just moving. But he's going to go back into the corner essentially.
Okay.
So he is he's basically cornering himself because he's smart.
Okay.
All right, and it is now your turn.
Okay, I am going to stand up very angrily. Maybe you can call stand up ragingly.
Right.
And I am going to try to do my best to get his head in between my maul and the wall, and just swing as recklessly as possible and try to hurt him very, very badly.
All right. 18, 12. Yeah. So you swing. You don't quite get him square enough to like smash it against the wall and like turn his head into a watermelon. But you do smack his face, and it sort of like spins him around a little bit, which is why you aren't able to get that full impact. But he definitely looks hurt.
And Bjorn looks extremely hurt as well, but he has a big shit-eating grin on his face.
Yeah, like it like you can see that like it probably broke his cheekbone, broke his ocular bones. So one side of his face there is looking pretty nasty. Although, as he sort of like got all angry and stuff, he was looking pretty nasty to begin with. But Lena, you were up.
Yeah, Lena will point her gun again, try to fire, realize that there is no more bullets in there. How far away is she from the pair of them at this point?
You're probably about 15 feet away.
Yeah, so can she just like drop her gun, pull out her rapier and just run forward and slash at him?
Yep.
Yes, so that's what she does.
My God, you rolled 2 crits.
So yeah, like you can see that because this all is happening quickly, right? So Lena has her gun aimed, and as she sees you, Bjorn, get up and smack him in the face, she just quickly drops the gun, runs, does like that superhero lunge, like she puts one hand over the altar and then like leaps over it, and then in the air pulls the Arya Stark and like stabs him in the chest, and he goes down.
Bjorn is still raging. He is going to turn this guy into Jello. He is going nonstop with his hammer until the rage runs out.
Okay.
Lena steps back and grabs her gun because she does not want any part in that.
And when the rage runs out, he kind of just falls down to a knee and is breathing very heavily. And he looks like he is ready to pass out. He is very, very hurt.
Lena goes over to him and is like, I've got some extra healing kits. and she holds it out to him.
What is this? And he like you can see him like reaching for the liquor bottle on his side. He doesn't know any better, and he's just like, what do you do with this?
Well, I admit I'm terrible at it, but and she'll attempt to use a healing kit on him.
You idiot!
So,
Don't waste that. It's a shame. I try and take the liquor bottle from him before he pours it out.
Oh no, you're not taking anything from him at this point.
So as you're doing that, there's this sort of it's this sort of blackish purple sort of like and it almost looks like a lightning type of like motion shines off of the mace, and you see almost instantly Baron's body, like from the jello, like merges back together, and he stands up with the mace in his hand. And in addition to that, when that lightning flashed off, one of the other dead bodies also stood up.
Okay. All right.
So we're still in combat.
Okay.
Well,
So I'll just keep the same order here. So as this is happening, Adir, you are up. There is now a.
I guess I didn't have time to actually bandage myself then.
Probably not. But in addition to Varen now standing up in front of you, a ghoul stands up behind you.
All right, which one's closer of the two?
Probably the ghoul at this point.
All right. Seeing that, I'm going to try and do like a. How close is he?
He's probably about 10 feet behind you.
All right. So yeah, I'm going to try and do a little flourish. Just take a swipe at the neck, try and cut its head off. Who knows? And I'll just kind of do it recklessly.
Okay.
Take a swipe at its throat to try and lop its head off.
So yeah, as it stands up and it's just sort of like getting its bearings, you just sort of like spin around and slice at its neck, and it just like it doesn't quite sever its head, but you can just see the sort of the black blood starts like pouring out of its neck, and it just sort of like falls backwards. And as it hits the ground, its neck sort of like partially comes detached, and you can just see like the insides, and the blood starts to
We've
seep
got
out.
company. More of them.
And Soren, you are up. The ghoul, it was only the one ghoul, and it is now down. So it's just Varen again. Yep. Okay. He rolled a 5, so he is taking 6 points and coming at you. All right.
Just in case I do take damage again right now, I lost my rage, right? Since I was technically not hitting a creature that was like hostile, since it was not moving at the moment.
I'll say, I mean, the reality is it's probably been more than a minute. So
Okay.
You probably wouldn't. No, I mean, like just for Soren, it probably wouldn't. But I'm not. I'll just screw it. Who cares? I'm just. You're raging. It's fine.
Okay.
It's more fun if you guys are doing stuff and cool stuff instead of being like, no, you technically were. Yeah. So yeah. Just.
Well, I mean, I was still hitting something. It does label it as a hostile creature, which isn't very hostile if I think it's dead. It's just me being angry.
But I think but I still think that you were definitely
Okay.
So. And I'll always side with the barbarians.
I don't know.
So it is his turn, actually. And he will go ahead and attempt to attack you. And your last attack was reckless, so I will say that he does get advantage on it. So, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, so I take that back. He will attack you instead of Bjorn. I forgot about that. It only happened 30 seconds ago. And he actually crits 25 to hit. But his mace doesn't do a ton of damage, so you actually only, and I also rolled a 1 on my my crit bonus, so you only take 10 points of bludgeoning damage. But I will say, because I want to make it meaningful, so he did crit you, so I'll say that it does take you down to a knee, so not that you're going to necessarily need to, but if you wanted to move, you would have to use your half your movement to stand up. I'm not going to knock you prone, but I'll just say that it took you down, so you had to you'll have to stand back up afterwards. And Bjorn, it is your turn.
Yeah. All right. Well, since I am still very angry, I am going to. I'm standing. I'm still on the other side of the altar. He got pulled away from me a little bit, and is Lena in the way, or was she further away from him than I was?
Well, the way that I would say is that so he was up in the corner. You were on the right hand side of him, trying to bash his head in, and then Lena was next to you, sort of to what would essentially be the left of him. So he got basically pulled in between you two.
Okay. All right. Well, then in that case, I am going to just get back up. I'm gonna do my damnedest to. I want to swing as hard as I can at the arm that is holding the mace, and do my best to break his arm so he drops it. I want to try to either take his arm off or just shatter it.
Okay.
And I am going to do this recklessly again because I am very angry.
All right, so that definitely hits him. Yeah. Actually, you attempt to break his arm. So he's got his arm. We'll say he has his arm out, right? And so you swing, and it snaps it. You hit him at the elbow, and so it breaks his arm. But you swing so hard that his arm continues, and your weapon continues up towards his head, and it knocks him to the ground, seemingly unconscious.
I am going to go and kick the weapon out of his hand because I saw magic coming from it, and it freaked me out.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go over to the other corpse as well and bash that fucking thing's head in. The one that has not gotten up yet.
Technically, we would still be in combat. So.
Oh, okay.
So, Lena, was there anything that you wanted to do?
Lena is gonna use. I think she's got flint as part of her kit. She's just gonna set Varen on fire.
Right. So I'll leave it up here. So we'll say for now, as you're doing that, you can take the time to light him on fire, and Bjorn, you can go smash the ghoul's head in.
Mm-hmm.
Was you just the one that got up, or you were gonna do both of them?
Oh no, I was gonna do the one that didn't get up. The one who
didn't get up.
Yeah,
didn't get up. Gotcha. Okay.
The one I nearly cut the head off of.
Gotcha.
And she'll just say Soren, magic stuff. What is that thing over there? And she gestures towards them all.
Do not touch. It made him turn into this creature.
Okay, so as you detect magic, you detect that it is definitely magic. And as you're doing so, same thing happens. The sparks fly off of it. Um, it you and then you see both the headless creature stand up, and you see Varen stand up again. And the mace maul like slowly starts to slide back, and then it just leaps into his other hand at this point. And now we're in combat again. Lena, we're gonna keep that up. We'll just keep the same order. So Lena, you are now up.
Yay. Can she kind of get around Varen? Be what do you call it? That
Flanking?
thing where flanking.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so she's gonna groan a little bit, get onto flanking with somebody else, and then try to stab his arm holding the thingy.
Yep. He doesn't drop it, but you do stab his arm, and he takes 9 points of damage.
And she's just gonna be like, smash that thing. Can't get them to revive again.
All right. Dear, it is your turn.
Okay, so she's flanking with who on the elf?
I will say that it's with Soren because he was the one that was standing close to him at the time.
All right, since Bjorn is over here trying to about to try and smash skull in of this thing, guess I'll try and flank on the other side with that, and I'm going to try and sever limbs. So if it does come back to life, it's going to have less limbs to work with.
Okay.
Let's see here. Go for a leg or an arm.
Are you doing reckless?
Well, I'm at blah, blah, blah. I should have done that as advantage because I'm flanking.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
You don't need
there you go. Just a regular advantage.
Yeah, so we'll say that you went for one of its legs and took it down from took off the bottom of its right leg. So unless you go and stand next to it, it's not going to be able to do much. It's going to attempt to drag itself towards you guys, but it doesn't even have a head at this point. So
Dismember them. Smash them to a pulp. Make it so they can't get back up.
well, remember, Bjorn turned Varen into Jello, so and he reformed. So
I thought he smashed his head into the wall into Jello.
no, after
After
he
he went, yeah.
he kept going and kept smashing into.
That's how I kept my rage.
Yeah. All right, Soren, you're up. So you are flanking with Lena at the moment. Yes. Right. Yeah, you did. You hit it with the whip, which seems stupid. A whip versus a stone mace, but you can see it causes a crack in the mace itself, and it looks like it almost like loosens from because the head of the mace sort of looks like it loosens a bit, shakes in Varen's hand, and we'll say that he does actually drop it at this point. 8 points of damage, and you can see that when it hits the ground, like the stone head cracks a little bit. Still intact, but all right. It is Varen's turn. So he's going to reach down. He's not going to pick up the mace, but he reaches down and touches it, and then everybody go ahead and do another charisma saving throw. So you get the same feeling, that screeching, horrible sound in your head. So Bjorn and Soren, you guys both sort of like, again, you feel it. It hurts, but you don't take any damage from it. Lena and Adira, you both take 8 points of psychic damage. And as that is a free ability for him, he will then turn around and attempt to claw you in the face, Bjorn.
All right.
Not Bjorn, Soren.
Oh, okay.
And he crit on that one as well, 24 to hit. So he actually would have had advantage on that anyway, because you were technically prone, I think. But regardless, not prone, but down. You take 13 points of damage, slashing damage. All right, so he reaches down, touches that, like you all hear the scream, and then he just immediately turns around without, you were distracted by that noise, and he just claws you in the face and knocks you down. Bjorn, it is your turn.
All right. Well, before Soren went down, he said it. Lena also said it. Oh, yeah. So I am going to. All right. Now, this is probably a question that should never be asked, but is the mace prone?
As you get advantage because it's on the ground.
Yeah, or do I have to recklessly swing?
I mean,
It's in his hand, isn't it?
And no, he dropped it. He did drop it. Sure. I mean, it's an inanimate object, so
all right. I am going to swing as hard as I can at it and aim directly for the skull. 14. Thank God I have advantage.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So that actually, in addition to that damage is enough to have actually just destroyed it without the previous damage. So as you do that, the skull cracks and shatters into like gravel essentially, and you see the crawling ghoul immediately stops, and Varen just sort of like gets this sort of shocked look on his face, and then just falls on his back, and that's it.
I immediately go over to Soren and apply a kit to him.
Okay.
Not as good as my last one, but at least you're up.
Well, I mean, the scary thing is, on the first crit you took, he did more damage to me on a non-crit, so that could have been really bad the first time he hit you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I rolled a 24 and a 21. Well, and what's funny is your sleep spell was a 27. He had 29 hit points at that point. Yeah. All right. So you have destroyed the mace, the weapon, and Varen does appear to be truly dead.
And the altar is still intact?
Yes.
It is not going to be for long. I want to try to destroy that too.
Sure.
Like, Bjorn, he looks completely freaked out that this thing stood back up twice and once being on fire, and he's kind of like just going a little bit insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's stone on. I don't know what your maul is made of. But...
It's just some big piece, like big chunk of metal that they had like welded onto the end of a like rod for him.
So, as you are all sort of like healing yourself up a little bit, just because it's getting later than I had anticipated. I said that I wanted this to only last 3 hours on Wednesdays, but this is fun. So The he's not wearing anything, or doesn't have anything on him that is particularly valuable. So rather than do the rolls and then even do like the role play of you guys walking back to the thing, we'll just go ahead and like kind of skip to the end there. So the temple, as you're leaving and everything seems to be silent and quiet. The bodies are still there. Sandra does ask that you burn all the bodies, not because of any like sort of like magical thing, but just because these were her friends, and just as a way to sort of honor them and not just leave them there to rot. So, and she's obviously, I mean, when she found all this out, she was extremely distraught. Had you taken her with you, other things could have happened. But you left her, which was probably good. So she survived. She may be somebody that you could, seek out later on in the campaign. But as you get back to the town of
well, one last thing before we leave for the town,
yeah.
I want to try my best to destroy the symbol over the entranceway too.
I mean, sure. Like if somebody'd have to give you a little boost up, well, you could probably.
Or I'll boost up someone else. That is fine. I just want it.
I think you could probably move some of those boxes that were in there and stand up on them. And,
yeah,
and
that is fine. The symbol has to go.
Okay. So, we'll say that you were able to do that. She does give you the 400 gold that she was allotted to provide to you for helping her. So it'd be 100 gold each if you want to split it out that way. But you can see that, like, so obviously when it first happened, she was distraught and she was crying, and then after you guys took care of the bodies and, on the trip back, you could just kind of even see it in her, the sort of resolves and sort of her steeling herself. And as you're parting ways with her, she tells you that like her new goal is to ensure that any evil like this is sought out and destroyed. And she tells you to, if you're ever in Tessera, to come to the college, the Royal College, and she would be happy to speak with you all and see if there's anything else you might be able to help her with, and vice versa. So,
and that was in Tessera?
Yes, because that's where she's technically from, or works and lives at the very least, since that's where the college. So, that worked out so that you have a potential ally in Tessera now. Because if you had taken her down there with you, Varen would have attempted to take her hostage. So, but that's it, guys. That is the first game of this campaign. So,